Hey, how you doing? Just checking in while you're scrolling. Pull that phone down for a sec, man. Won't take long, but we gotta chat. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. Whether you need it is up to you. But you seriously don't know how lucky you are. Someone out there is dreaming of the stuff you take for granted every damn day. For real. This ain't some fake positive vibe. See it as two dudes just talking, keeping it real. Tonight, if you can, hit the bed with a smile. Even if you gotta force it, just find something, anything, to grin about. Don't worry too much, man. Life's too short to be miserable. All that stress? Not worth it.
Focus on the small wins, the good stuff. That's where the real joy is.
So own your day, appreciate what you got. Make that smile real, even if it starts fake.
Yep, make
You
that
deserve
smile
it.
real. You deserve it.
Hey, how you?
That's right. You deserve it. You deserve it all. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Buddy. What's new, people? Happy Monday night. Smart monkeys. Monkeys are very smart. What's up, none of your business? What's up, Lynn? What's new, peoples? How's it going? How we doozing? We're doozing. We're good. Man, we had a pretty good show last night, I have to say. No Chapsky, what's up? I thought it was pretty good. Worked out nice and all that business. So let me do this. I didn't get was a little late get the show started, so it is what it is. That's what it is. It's what it is. It is. I didn't really get perfectly set up, so let's see. Yeah. There we go. Okay. All right. Got that all taken care of. All right. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. We got life is indifferent. How you doing? Militant roots. It's okay to think white people are just don't put others down. Well, hey Dan, Dan Gygax, how's it going? I don't think anybody are the best people I don't think it works that way. I think most people are individuals, and you can have good people or bad people. Could be all different types of people. But it's okay to notice patterns, militant roots. Noticing patterns is what's kept us, some survival instincts that's kept us alive throughout the centuries. So it's good to do that, I would say. Just know it works that way, and it's okay. Well, noticing. You have to notice. Did I forget to do this? I did. I forgot to change the font. Let's see. What is it? Should we go new rocker font? No, I don't like that. Let's go with emitter. Or maybe the other one I like. Oh, Metal Mania. We'll go back to emitter. I like emitter. I like old mitter. Yeah, so last night was a great show. I appreciate it. Well, I hope everyone's doing well tonight, too. We're going to jump right in. Last night was a great show. Steve Hilliard. We're going to jump right into the first story of the evening. Breaking has just been revealed that Adam Schiff signed off on leaking classified information to hurt President Trump over the Russia hoax. Kash Patel says it's now time for this to be investigated. We found it, we declassified it. Now Congress can see how classified info was leaked to shape political narratives and decide if our institutions were weaponized against the American people. Wow. This is absolutely disgusting. Career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats. Yeah, we're going to read this whole thing. This has been known for over 4 years. We relied on the speech and debate clause to protect him. Trusting Schiff is like hiring a fox as your chicken coop guard. Well done. Yeah. Right here, breaking. Exclusive Democrat whistleblower told FBI that Schiff okayed leaking classified intel to hurt Trump. Mike Davis says, Dear Adam Schiff, does the U.S. Constitution speech and debate clause provide you congressional immunity from criminal prosecution under the Espionage Act? I guess we'll find out. The Schiff Memorial. Oh. Why is it taking so long? Yeah, why is it taking so long? People just want to know. And here is the story. And here's the story. Hey, Barbie World, how are we doing tonight? Exclusive. Democrat whistleblower told the FBI that Schiff... That's better. That Schiff okayed... Why is my camera off? Better? That's better. That the FBI, that Schiff okayed leaking classified intel to hurt Trump.
Anybody that lives in the D.C. area understands that this is necessary. Riding their motorcycles across the members of Congress that were either carjacked or...
No. And once again, this is not about a story, so I don't know why they do that. And I still fall for it all the time. A career intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee for more than a decade repeatedly warned the FBI beginning in 2017 that then Rep. Adam Schiff had approved leaking classified information to smear then President Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal. See, there's a problem with that. Schiff telling you to do it, the person leaking it would be the one breaking the law, not Schiff, I think. I mean, they could get him for conspiracy, maybe. Yeah. Okay to who? That's the thing. Like who? Like Schiff told them it's that they wanted them to do it, and they're just following orders. But that doesn't work, I don't think. Well, your AC went out. Thank goodness it was under warranty. Oh yeah, ACs these days are getting very expensive. Yeah. So they're saying they for more than a decade repeatedly warned the FBI, beginning in 2017. That's not more than a decade. This is 2025. So 2017 to 2025 is 8 years. I mean, that's just math. Hey, mother of Papillon, how you doing? Diamond G. Smear then President Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal. According to bombshell FBI memos Kash Patel has turned over to Congress, the FBI 302 interviews report obtained by Just the News state the intelligence staffer, a Democrat by party affiliation, who described himself as a friend to both Schiff, now a California senator, and former House Republican Intel Chairman Devin Nunes, considered declassified leaking to be unethical, illegal, and treasonous, was told not to worry about it because Schiff believed he would be spared prosecution under the Constitution's speech and debate clause. Well, Tip Root says, I live in Northern Virginia, spent many years inside the Beltway. People might be surprised who actually does the footwork in the D.C. federal government. No publicly disclosed opinion from the Attorney General or the Solicitor General can be found making that determination as a matter of law. But officials told Just the News that DOJ officials showed little interest in pursuing Schiff when the allegations were brought to them years ago, citing the very same excuse the lawmaker had offered. I don't think the speech and debate clause shields you from the Espionage Act. I really don't. Because if that's the case, then when in his most recent interview with the Bureau in 2023, the whistleblower, whose name is redacted, told agents from the FBI St. Louis office that he personally attended a meeting at which Schiff authorized leaking classified information. When working in this capacity, redacted staffer's name was called to an all-staff meeting by Schiff, the interview report said. In this meeting, Schiff stated the group would leak classified information which was derogatory to President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Schiff stated the information would be used to indict President Trump. What? I can see impeach, but not indict. The whistleblower told investigators he stated this would be illegal, and upon hearing his concerns, unnamed members of the meeting reassured him that they would not be caught leaking classified information. Oh, it's only illegal if we get caught. Mother Papillon says, do you guys know if you can use a prepaid credit card for super chats, or does it have to be a bank account? No, I think you can use a prepaid credit card. I think they prefer you to use a credit card. Yeah, I think you can use any credit card. It'll ask you to put a credit card number in or whatever to pay for it. It's easier to do that with like any type of credit card on a computer as opposed to your phone. If you use your phone, they're going to try to use your phone charging system to do it. And I wanted to ask, does anybody know? Because I did get a bunch of Rumble rants last night on Rumble, but does Rumble take like 50% or something? Because it sure seems like that. Because when I did the math on what I got in the super chats from, Rumble rants yesterday on Rumble, and what Rumble says I'm getting out of it, it's like 50%. So I don't. If Rumble takes 50%, I don't know why people would say they're better than YouTube, because that sounds pretty shitty to me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I'm going to have to ask somebody, I guess, that would know. YouTube is 70-30. Yeah, YouTube is 70-30. You get 70%, YouTube takes 30. But, but Rumble, from what I saw, I think Rumble is 50%. Yeah, Venmo, PayPal. You can use Venmo, I think, to send to PayPal, actually, if I'm not mistaken. If you go in the tab up on the pinned comment on the stream, there's a PayPal link, and you can use Venmo for that. And I think they only take 5% or something for 5%, I think, for Venmo or PayPal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so you could read the FBI reports here. Schiff did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Alleged leaks fall outside the statute of limitations for prosecution on most legal theories, but the revelations nonetheless come at a sensitive time for Schiff, who recently was referred to the Department of Justice for a possible prosecution for potential mortgage fraud, based on a story first written by Just the News. Officials also said that some of the DOJ officials who declined to prosecute a rash of classified leaks during the Russiagate affair remain employed in positions of power. And see, that's a problem. Any of the people who decline to prosecute or even look into these things, they need to go, along with any of the people who decided to go after all the people in the Trump orbit for not yeah, Barbie says I used to do Rumble, but the chat feature is whack. Yeah, it seems really weird, like I said, because like unless it's just gonna take a long time to pop up, but yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. So I'm gonna have to look into it more. They're only supposed to take 20% from rants. I don't know, man. It sure looks like they're taking about 50. It does. It sure looks like they're taking about 50 because like either that or somebody did chargebacks on some of the rants. That's the only thing that's possible, maybe. Because the saying it's speech and debate might get Schiff in trouble if Schiff did what Rep Gravel did with the Pentagon Papers and read them on the House floor. That's okay. Leaking info isn't. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives, Patel told Just the News on Monday. Mm-hmm. There are abuses. It's all done for one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. That's terrible. I don't know how it works either. I thought Rumble took like 20% or something, like it says, or 15%, but I'm gonna have to watch because like I saw like a bunch, some guy kept like one person sent like 6 Rumble rants, and it was like, and another person sent 2. So it's just I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. That's what it could. Maybe that's what it is. He says I'm late, but remember that using apps on phones and tablets may result in a double dip. Google and Apple want their cut, especially if it's not an app they own or control. Yeah. Yeah. I know they do. Yeah, they do 60/40 on ad revenue, but he's right actually. So maybe that's it. Maybe the people who made those Rumble rants were using like an iPhone, because if you're using an iPhone, Apple takes 30%, and then whatever. So yeah, that would make sense. That would be 50%. 20% for Rumble and 30% for Apple, or if you're using an Android. Wow. And all you could find is that Rumble takes 40% of ad revenue. That's possible too. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it. How do you make money off what, Barbie World? I don't know what you're talking about. Schiff, who previously served as a ranking member and then chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on the Intelligence before sending to the Senate, pushed false allegations of Trump-Russia collusion for many years and touted British ex-spy Christopher Steele's discarded dossier, even reading multiple baseless claims from it into the congressional record in March 2017. The whistleblower began approaching the FBI that same year. In one meeting, the Democratic HPSI staffer told the FBI that retired Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, was to be a specific focus of the committee as part of a broader effort to target Trump. The whistleblower also specifically pointed to Rep. Eric Swalwell as a likely source of classified leaks. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, super chat. Well, here's the thing. If you super chat from your Apple phone, then Apple takes 30% and YouTube takes 30%, so you only get 40%. They get 60. If you super chat from your computer, YouTube just takes the 30%, you get 70%. So it all depends on how they do it. You know what I mean? But if you use Apple, yeah, it's fucked. And if I remember correctly, if you're on an Android phone and you do a super chat from Google, because it's Google, I don't think they charge you the fee for Google, but they might. I don't know. The Democrat staffer also alleged allegedly told a former Republican colleague on the committee that he was terminated because Schiff staff did not believe he had adequate party loyalty after he raised concerns about the leak strategy. The FBI memo showed. Yeah. So Barbie World, if you're on an iPhone and you do like a super tip or a super sticker or any type of chat through through YouTube from your iPhone, YouTube takes 30% and Apple takes 30%. The only way to get around is if you're on your phone and you were to go like to the browser instead of the app. Because if you do it with the app on your phone, they take the money. But if you go through the browser and then put in like a credit, you'd have to do like a separate credit card. You wouldn't be paying through the app. Because anything that goes through the app goes through Apple's pay stuff, so they take a percentage. I've tried, Mother of Pepione, I've tried to get on to Nick's Super Tips, but the guy that runs it said I'm not is no, that's not true, Trumpinator. If you're on iPhones now, you can pay through the iPhone for Rumble. They do process payments through them now. They didn't used to, but they do now. But yeah, I'm not. I don't have enough people watching to get onto that. The same thing. If you buy memberships for people and you're on a phone, they're going to take YouTube. YouTube takes a cut, and Rumble takes a cut, or not Rumble. YouTube takes a cut, and the Apple, if they're using Apple, will take a cut too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I have Cash App, Adam. It's up here on the screen. This little thing with the green dollar sign. That's a Cash App thing. It's also in the in the pinned comment is a Cash App and a tip jar for PayPal. So if you have Venmo or PayPal, you can use that. And Cash App, I don't think takes. I'm not sure what Cash App takes. I don't think. I'm not sure, Trumpinator, then how it works exactly. I know some stuff can go through. Maybe you can set it up. Maybe you can set it up without it. I don't know. Anyway, the whistleblower was interviewed twice in 2017 and at least 4 times over 6 years about the alleged Schiff leaks, but Justice Department prosecutors declined to move forward, according to the memos. Part of a large production of documents Patel sent to the House Judiciary Committee that identifies several classified leak schemes carried out by senior government officials over the last decade. The memos are mostly FBI 302 interviews, which, as explained by one criminal defense law firm, allows an FBI agent to draft a memo in paragraph form of what the witness said. It could be a 1 page long or 20 pages long, depending on the length of the interview. Life and differences. Speaking of, what's your goal for tonight? I think I'm going to keep it the same as it's been, and just so for if I'm going to go for about 2 hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours for a regular show, depending on how everything goes, and if I get like if I get close to $100 in total, whatever, from either super chats or from Rumble rants or gifted membership, people join memberships, that'll count, or stickers will count, or Cash App or PayPal will count. Any of that stuff combined gets close to 100, and I'll go for another 2 hours or so. So that's generally what I'm going to do until for the foreseeable future, unless it doesn't work out. If it's like becomes an issue where I don't make it a bunch of times, then I'll lower it, back down to 75 or something. Mm-hmm. The memo section of the 302 is a key part. This is a combination of what the agent was able to write down during the interview and his recollection. It may list the questions and answers or simply be a narrative of what the witness said. The witness generally does not see the 302 or get a chance to correct any mistakes he thinks are in it before it's finalized. Democrat whistleblowers told the FBI in 2017 interview at his home that the SCI work environment started to change around August 2016 as the U.S. presidential election approached. He said that during the September 2016 staff meeting, other Democrat staffers revealed they had provided on background information to journalists about their impressions of Russian activity surrounding the upcoming election. What about the 8-hour option? Man, the 8-hour option would be, the reason I went 8 hours is because after they did the 100, then somebody did another 50. And so then we went, from 5. Actually, the people did a bunch of stuff. And what is Buy Me a Coffee's cut? I have no idea about what the Buy Me a Coffee is thing. What is that called? I don't know. There's so many things. I don't know. I mean, if you can, I don't know. I'm as soon as as soon as I can get on the super tips thing, which is just a credit card through Stripe payment thing, and they only take 10%. That's what I'm going to do and try to push, because that seems like it's the easiest way. And then they'll have voices that'll read the chats out and stuff like that. And so we'll see. But yeah, that night was fun. The 8-hour night was a lot of fun. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, that night brought in over $200, almost $300. So that's why we ended up going to 8 hours. So that was a very we kept approaching the time, and then people kept giving more money, so I kept going longer, and which is always a possibility. Democrat staffers told during the 2017 interview that during the August 2017 interview at the Bull Feathers restaurant in the nation's capital, that he was told by various HPSCI, so that's House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence staffers, in the October 26th timeframe, that former Secretary Clinton won the November 2016 election. Schiff would be offered the position of CIA director. The staffers told the FBI in December 2017 that the mood within the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence was indescribable after Trump's win, and that Schiff was particularly upset, as he believed he would have been appointed as director of the CIA had Clinton won the election. Oh, it's not a matter of picking Nick's brain. I mean, I asked Nick to talk to Melton about it, but I messaged Melton, and Melton said I'm not, that they're in beta right now, and they're only taking people that have more people watching or something like that. Have bigger channels, basically. Which he actually told me that channels that have an average over 100 viewers on a live stream average over 100 concurrent viewers, which I'm right there, but but it's like tonight we're only at 27 people on YouTube, because somebody decided to go live after not saying anything that he was going to go live at all, not saying nothing. I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but I think everybody knows who it is. Josephus. He told the FBI that in August 2017, Schiff believed Russia hijacked the election, and that the United States was in the middle of a constitutional crisis. Classified information being leaked to the media. The Democrat minority leadership was aware of the leaks, but was under the impression that leaking the information was one way to topple the administration and fix the constitutional crisis. Schiff and the CIA. Really digging the show you got educated. Well, I appreciate it. I'm trying to educate people. I'm trying to keep it entertaining, trying to make it engaging so that people keep coming back. And honestly, I want to say Saturday night, Sunday night show were awesome. I mean, we had great viewership. We had great numbers, people participating in the chat. Sunday night, last night's show actually was the highest watched show I had that didn't get a lead in by somebody, that didn't get rated by Joe or someone else. Have I thought about having low-level background music? Why, you think that would help to have just music playing in the background? Wouldn't that be distracting? The Democratic whistleblower provided details to the FBI in August 2017 and about a February 13th HPSCI staff meeting where staff director and general counsel advised the minority staff that he wanted to drive the Russian involvement issue into a joint inquiry similar to the 9/11 Commission. He instructed the staff to use any resources they had developed within the intelligence community to gather facts. He wanted to make the information public and use the media to compel public opinion to bring about the joint inquiry. Democrat staffer told the FBI in December 2017 that he believed this was an explicit request to gather classified information for public disclosure. He also told the FBI that a yet redacted person had approached an HPSCI staffer and directed him to reach out to his contacts at a redacted place in order to collect information on Michael Flynn's contact with Russia. Staffer had told the FBI in August 2017 that when another redacted staffer was asked about the Flynn information request, they opined everything is directed at Trump and trying to get him impeached. Flynn just happened to be the issue of the day. Oh. Thank you, Bobby World, for a $5 super sticker. It's greatly appreciated, and that will go towards the goal. Democrat whistleblower also told the FBI in December 2017 that a particular leak from the summer of 2017 had caused him to confront HPSCI on the issue. He said a particularly sensitive document was viewed by a small contingent of staff, as well as Schiff and Representative Eric Swalwell, and that within 24 hours, that information appeared in the news almost verbatim. Staffer told the FBI that it was suspected that Swalwell played a role in the leak and noted Swalwell previously had been warned to be careful because he had a reputation for leaking classified information. The whistleblower had told the FBI in August 2017 that the sensitive document was read by HPSCI staffers and by members of Congress in late June or early July, and that its contents immediately leaked to the press. The staffer told the Bureau that the General Counsel for a redacted intelligence agency then read them the riot act about the disclosure. The Democrat staffer reportedly told the FBI in May 2023 discussion at the Marriott St. Louis Grand Hotel that he had several conversations with two unnamed FBI agents related to the matter and was eventually invited to attend a mock grand jury with the United States Department of Justice. Thank you for saving us, Jim. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Dan. It says, here is a rant towards the goal. Wow, life isn't different. Says for $10, says can't go 8 hours, but wouldn't mind an extra 2 while I transplant my apple trees in the dark. Well, so far we have $15 towards the goal, so another 85 or close to it, and we will go for another 2 hours. Mother Papillon says, music would be tricky, either copyright claims, Bella Cam in the future, that's what's up. Well, that's what we're going to do. Like I said, 5,000. When I get 5,000 subs on YouTube, I'll add a camera for Bella. I'll spend the money and get it when I get the 5,000 subs. So we're on our way. Could be a month from now. It could be, a couple months from now. Could be a couple weeks from now. Who knows? All depends. All depends. All depends. But depends. I'm not so. I forgot this. I almost without that I can. The staffer told the Bureau that he was eventually informed that the issue would not be investigated further by the DOJ, as congressmen have immunity to all speech and actions made on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. No copy of any such legal opinion issued under color law has ever been made public. Dan Blackwright, who's a very good friend of mine, says it won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Well, it could happen overnight, just not tonight, but it might happen overnight some night. Like I could wake up one day and be like, oh, there it is. Like I go to bed with 4,999 subscribers, then wake up the next morning to 5,000. That could happen. Actually, the whistleblower told the Bureau he did not believe the activity he witnessed would be protected by this legal provision. FBI interview reports indicate that an FBI agent had spoken with a Republican staffer who described the sudden firing of a minority staffer. The GOP staffer told the FBI that the Democrat staffer had told him that he was suddenly fired due to a perceived lack of party loyalty. The Republican staffer told the FBI agent that the Democrat staffer had told him that there was allegedly a systematic process through which leaks were effected, and that he'd been fired because there was an expectation of leaking and he refused to participate. GOP staffer further told the FBI that the Democrat staffer said that this was not a one-time thing, but rather that under the system established by Schiff's staff director, notes would be run up to the ranking member, Adam Schiff, and after which a decision was made as to who would leak the information. Well, that sounds like a criminal conspiracy, actually, to commit espionage. That's what it sounds like to me. And I don't think that would qualify for the speech and debate clause because he's not making those statements on the floor. Schiff's long history of promoting baseless Trump-Russia collusion claims. After promoting the Schiff Steele dossier in 2017, Schiff engaged in a battle with then-Rep. Nunes in 2018 about the use of the anti-Trump dossier. Republican majority released their FISA memo in early February, finding that Steele's anti-Trump dossier formed an essential part of the initial and all three renewal FISA applications against Page. Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe testified that no FISA warrant would have been sought from the FISA court without the Steele dossier information. The political origins of the Steele dossier were known to senior DOJ and FBI officials, but excluded from the FISA applications. And DOJ's official Bruce Orr met with Steele beginning in the summer of 2016 and relayed to DOJ information about Steele's bias, with Steele telling Orr that he was desperate that Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not becoming president. Schiff and the Democrat minority released their late February rebuttal memo, wrongly contending that the FBI and DOJ officials did not abuse the FISA process, omit material information, or subvert this vital tool to spy on the Trump campaign. In fact, DOJ and FBI would have been remiss in their duty to protect the country had they not sought the FISA warrant and repeated renewals to conduct temporary surveillance of Carter Page, someone the FBI says to be an agent of the Russian government. They lied, though. The FBI agent lied, changed the information, and you understand? I mean, come on. They also said the department doesn't met the rigor, transparency, and evidentiary basis needed to meet the FISA's probable cause requirement. I don't think so. Schiff baselessly claimed in August 2018, I think there's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight. Schiff then claimed again in April 2018 that I've been very clear over the past year and a half that there's ample evidence of collusion in plain sight. Robert Mueller's special counsel report did not establish any criminal collusion between Trump and Russia, and the DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz vindicated Nunes and showed Schiff was wrong. Horowitz then uncovered huge flaws with FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, and in a December 2019 report finding at least 17 significant errors or omissions related to the FISA warrants. Horowitz also criticized the essential role of the British ex-spy Christopher Steele's debunked dossier in the FBI's politicized FISA surveillance. Steele had been hired by opposition research firm Fusion GPS, which was paid by Clinton campaign lawyer Mark Elias. Horowitz found the FBI had also concealed exculpatory information from the FISA Surveillance Act court. DOJ watchdog also said Steele's alleged main source, Igor Danchenko, contradicted the allegations of a well-developed conspiracy in Steele's dossier. Ex-FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith admitted to Durham in August 2020 that he falsified a document during the Bureau's effort to renew FISA surveillance authority against Carter Page. Yeah, that guy admitted to falsifying information to get the warrant to spy. And he ended up getting a slap on the wrist, and then the D.C. courts system, the bar association, whatever, said, yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. We're giving his license back. He's still a good lawyer because it was Trump. He fraudulently edited a CIA email in 2017 to state Page was not a source. Ahead of the infamous Hunter Biden laptop letter, Schiff attempted to shoot down the October 2020 New York Post stories on Hunter Biden's shady business deals in China and Ukraine by falsely claiming on CNN that we know that this whole smear on Joe Biden comes from the Kremlin. No, that guy who did that is not in prison. He got a slap on the wrist and then got let go. Basically, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's the same judge, one of these same judges that keep giving Trump issues. I think it's this Boasberg, if I'm not mistaken. It was Boasberg that gave him a slap on the wrist. Schiff tweeted in September 2020 that the investigation was political from the start and sent Horowitz a letter requesting the watchdog open an investigation on Durham. He also criticized Attorney General William Barr's elevation of Durham from federal prosecutor to special counsel, slamming it as politically motivated. The Durham's 2023 report concluded that neither U.S. law enforcement nor intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. The special counsel assessed that the FBI ignored the fact that at no time before, during, or after Crossfire Hurricane were investigators able to corroborate a single allegation in the Steele dossier. Schiff is mentioned by name 3 times in the Durham report, including that a university researcher who refused to investigate Trump-Russia allegations felt threatened by a Schiff staffer. Durham report said 2 researchers, likely from Georgia Tech, were on Capitol Hill in November 2018, meeting with the HPSCI staff regarding a pending cybersecurity federal research contract. During the meeting, staffers cut off the presentation to show researchers a news article about Trump, Russia, and Alphabet. Schiff told the researchers they needed the university's help with the matter, according to the Durham report. The researcher responded by saying it would be inappropriate for a public university to do that. A staffer from the office of Senator Jack Reed also allegedly said that we are now in charge, while an HPSCI staffer said that their boss would soon take over leadership, and that the researcher took the comment as a mild threat. After the release of the Durham report, the House of Representatives formally censured Schiff because he spread false accusations that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia and perpetuated false allegations from the Steele dossier, including numerous Trump associates of colluding with Russia in the congressional record. President Joe Biden pardoned Schiff on his last full day in office in January, but only in reference to Schiff's role on the Select Committee, which investigated the Capitol riot. In certain cases, some have even been threatened with criminal prosecutions, including General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and members of the staff of the Select Committee to investigate January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, Biden said. These public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction. They don't deserve to be targets of unjustified or politically motivated prosecutions. Yeah. I continue to think it was unwise and unnecessary that it sets a bad precedent, Schiff said, adding that I understand why the president did it. It's a response to completely improper threats by Trump to prosecute people for no reason. I think there's a reason, dude. Except that he thinks they're political opponents or he thinks they're effective or for whatever reason. Dude, you're not effective. You're a lying scumbag. What did you do to those boys at the Standard Hotel, Adam Schiff? What did you and Ed Buck do to those young boys? Why don't you ever talk about that? So you know the origin of all these threats, the improper threats by Trump, but nonetheless, I think that should have been the response. So yeah, there's that story, but there's so much more, about all this stuff. It's so interesting. There's one thing, it's just real quick that I wanted to get into because there's a lot. We talked about this quite a bit about that the Cincinnati people. So 6 people got indicted,
aggravated assault
by the grand jury for the beating up those Russians, as they called, which they weren't Russians actually. But so now we have the community leaders in Cincinnati. They're calling on the white guy who got beat up and kicked in the head for 20 minutes on the ground. They want him to get indicted because they say he incited the 6 other people to beat him up.
6 individuals were charged with aggravated assault, which is a felony. The white guy incited or urged 6 other people to commit a felony.
The method by which this situation has been handled raises serious questions as to whether there's bias involved in the investigation. It also brings into question the possibility of a lack of integrity and whether there's something else to hide.
Yeah, whether there's something else to hide. Well, I got news for all you community leaders there in Cincinnati. The DOJ, Harmy Dillon, is watching this case. And if Cincinnati does anything squirrely at all, they will have a DOJ investigation, a civil rights investigation, come crashing down on them like a ton of bricks. So, good luck to you. Going to charge the victim because he incited getting beat up. Doesn't work that way. There's a thing called, on to the next story. Here we go. D.C. Mayor, I think I speak for all Americans. We don't believe it's legal to use the American military against American citizens on American soil. Well, I think she might be wrong about that. Didn't that guy Lincoln do it? Didn't Lincoln do it?
Has threatened. He's been making these threats since last year, and now he's carrying through with them. There's no reason to believe he won't go further. What do you say to the president about his threats to bring the military, not just the National Guard, but the military?
We don't, and I think I speak for all Americans, we don't believe it's legal to use the American military against American citizens on American soil. I'm not a lawyer, and but I think that's a fairly.
Well, I just want to point out one thing. The military is not being used against American citizens. The military is going to be used to get rid of the illegal aliens who are not American citizens, because there is a precedent for that. There was this operation called moisture, water, wet, something posterior, behind, back, that Eisenhower implemented in the 50s. And he was able to use the military, and just 750 customs agents, border agents, custom agents at the time. We didn't have like CBP or anything like that back in the 50s. They just had like, customs agents, I believe. And they were able to use that and active duty military and National Guard to deport 1.4 million illegal aliens in 4.5 months, I believe, was the total time. So, yeah.
Widely held fact. And so, but we've seen them move, I think, active military into California. So it's a question. We've seen active military on the borders of D.C. some years ago. And we don't believe that our military should be used against American citizens. Yes.
Mayor Bowser has threatened. He's been making.
Wrong. The National Guard has been called numerous times throughout the history of the U.S. Here's just a few. Look at 1968, Baltimore, Maryland. 1968, Washington, D.C. 1968, Wilmington, Delaware. I think in 68 it was also in Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore, Washington. Well, yeah, but where's Chicago? Kent State, New York City in 71, New York City in 77. But what about Chicago? Chicago in the 60s, 68, Chicago, yeah. 77, New York City, 89, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, 92, Los Angeles. 92, they also used the 82nd Airborne in 92. In Seattle, Washington, 99, 2005 in Louisiana, 2014, Ferguson, Missouri, 2015, Baltimore, Maryland, in 2020, in the nationwide George Floyd protest, which they should have used a lot more. Illegal immigrants are not American citizens. This guy's right. There you go. Give him a heart. DC and Maryland do the same thing and don't report juvenile crimes and lie about how safe their city is, and when the people that live there know they're not. If a violent crime when juvenile rises but adult crime falls, the overall violent crime number might look flat or even lower, masking the use spike. Because juvenile reports are published separately and often late, and the public narrative can be months behind reality. This is part why local police, community groups, and even federal agencies have recently said youth violence in DC is more concentrated but more severe, despite an overall crime drop. Bottom line, yes, juvenile violent crime is tracked separately in a restricted system, and the public adult crime stats don't show that breakdown. This separation makes it very possible the DC report violent crime is down, while juvenile violent crime is actually rising. Well, and also when they juke the stats, they can also say that. Yes, we have Liberation Day. Liberation Day. The YNs, they're a special group. Yes, the YNs. Kent State, yeah. Kent State, yeah. Do adult crime, get adult justice. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh, man, we are really hurting people. Trump just federalized DC police, National Guard on the streets, crime crackdown on the nation's capital. Now I want to explain this to everyone so that they understand. Like, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., is in the Constitution, the actual Constitution, as could be a completely separate district. It's a federal district controlled by the federal government. All right. It's supposed to be overseen by the president, but its rules are supposed to be passed by Congress. Congress is basically supposed to be the city council, if you will, of the city of Washington, D.C. It's technically not even supposed to be a city. It's supposed to be a district. You know what I mean? They call it Washington, D.C., the city of Washington, D.C., but it's supposed to be a district, you know, kind of like a, you know, I don't know, District 9, if you ever saw that movie. No, it's a bad one, but they passed a law in the 70s, I want to say in 73 or 77, to make D.C. a city and let D.C. have a mayor and let D.C. have a city council and have, you know, some kind of self-determination. But in reality, what should have happened is they should have said, hey, listen, it was never supposed to be all these people living here. It was supposed to just be federal buildings, offices, and other stuff, and, you know, museums and memorials, and that's what was supposed to be. DC was supposed to be just government stuff, or, you know, not people living there. So they need to get those people, send them back to Maryland. Basically, just say not move them, but just say no. This land where you live is now going back to Maryland, because they already did that. It was supposed to be a 10-mile by 10-mile diamond. And they, in the 1840, I think they gave the southern half back to Virginia. Yeah. And, they gave it back to Virginia, and Arlington and all that was part of the District of Columbia, but that got given back to Virginia. And so now it's just the northern part, north of the river, I believe, the Potomac, I think. Pretty sure. But yeah, the 73 Home Rule Act, which technically I think the 73 Home Rule Act might be unconstitutional, because in order to do all the stuff that they decided to do, it violates the Constitution, which the Constitution specifically says it's not supposed to have any of that stuff. And so they just decided that, oh, we're going to do this because people were complaining. Instead of just saying, hey, why don't we just give them back to Maryland, is what they should have did. Would be the easier thing. Just go back to Maryland. That way they have a state representation. They have representation, you know, in Congress. They would have handled that. They have no representation now, you know, at all. So it's weird. But yeah, the 73 Home Rule Act, actually, the act that gives DC the power to have a city council and to have a mayor, also gives the president the power to take control of the police department, because technically the DC Metro Police are a federal police department. Yes, in the Constitution it says DC cannot be a state. It can't be anything. It's a federal district under federal control. That's what it says in the Constitution. It doesn't say the feds can say, we're going to give it to some local. Now you got these people saying it should be a state. Why would a city be a state? Oh, because that would give Democrats super majority power and just 2 free senators all the time. No. You know, that specifically can't be a state because they didn't want any state to have the power of having the federal government in the state. So the president invoked emergency powers to take direct control of the Metropolitan Police Department. Here's the scoop.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now.
Yeah. 1 second, I'm typing something. Says Jim, what camera would you purchase for the Bella Cam? I would honestly, I would probably just get a new camera for myself and put the one I have for me now on the Bella Cam, because that one's remote. It's remote control, and I can do all types of stuff with it. So I can put it over here, and wherever she is, I can do that. So I would probably just get a better camera for myself, like a more 4K or something for myself, or just a better camera, something better than the one I have. I have an Ozbot for myself right now. It wasn't cheap. It was like $500, but I don't know. I would get something a little better. A lot of people tell me you should get like a Canon digital, like a Canon camera, like a digital one. You plug it right into your computer and then do a bunch of stuff with that. Where's Bella? She's sleeping right here. Here, we'll do a Bella peek while we're waiting for Jim to figure out how to do a show. There she is. See? There she is. See? Mm-hmm. There she is. There's Bella sleeping. Bella! Bella girl! Bella! Hey, what are you doing? You sleeping? Sleeping? You can't see her. She's right there. Right there, see? There's Bella. All right, now I gotta fix the camera. All right, that's better, I think, right? All right, it's good. All right. No, that's not supposed to be that way. What are you doing? Sorry. Ugh. All right, that's better, I think. Right? Good? We good? All right, looks good. All right. All right. Ugh. DC's police now answer to President Trump, not the mayor. Attorney General Pam Bondi's in charge. DEA Chief Terry Cole's the interim federal police commissioner. This is the most aggressive federal law and order move in decades. Look at them. Yeah, they're getting it. Trump invoked Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act 1973, a little-known clause allowing the president to seize command of D.C. police during an emergency. He also deployed the National Guard to help. The crackdown mobilizes hundreds of National Guard troops to D.C. They can't arrest, but they can detain until police arrive. Think of them as a force multipliers, making sure criminals have nowhere to run. This comes after a string of high-profile crimes, including a gang assault on the former Doge staffer known as Big Balls, who intervened to stop an attack on an innocent woman. Yeah, I believe they're calling this Operation Big Balls. Trump's blunt message: the days of ruthless killing or hurting innocent people are over. Democrat D.C. mayor says, we are not experiencing a crime spike. Any comparison to a war-torn country is hyperbolic and false. Reality, the murder rate is higher than Baghdad, Iraq, or Bogota, Colombia, and Bowser is doing nothing. Part of a broader Trump push, removing homeless encampments from D.C., boosting federal law enforcement in the Capitol, and deploying park police, ATF marshals, the DEA, and more. Washington is being flooded with federal authority. The truth, the Constitution makes D.C. an enclave of federal authority because the founders didn't want local or state politics to affect the national government's worth. Now, Democrats refuse to fight crime affects everyone who lives or travels to the Capitol. The real solution: give most of D.C. back to Maryland. That's what I said. And that'll give congressional representation plus state government to keep order. Will also prevent Democrats from turning into a big state with 2 senators. Well, they can't. They would have to change the Constitution. No, actually, those aren't the same police. Those are the Capitol Police. Those are completely separate from the D.C. Metro Police. The Capitol Police are completely controlled by the Speaker of the House. They're controlled by Congress, the Speaker of the House. They answer to the Speaker of the House and the Sergeant of Arms of the Congress. Otherwise, repeal home rule and federalize it. Yeah. You see here. Here's the map. All right. So you see that how the diamond shape. It was supposed to continue this way, come up, and continue the diamond. All right. But all this stuff, Arlington, all this got given back to. It's given back. But yeah, that's definitely what they should do. This should just be DC right here in this square. Put all these different things in it, and then they should be like George Washington University, the Jefferson, like all this stuff, and then Arlington Cemetery should be in DC also, in my opinion. So. Mm-hmm. Under President Trump's leadership, the FBI is delivering historic results. 4,000 child victims rescued, 1,500 kilos of fentanyl, 19,000 arrests, including 1,600 for violent crimes against children. This is how you put criminals on notice. There's going to be a lot of stuff from the news conference.
Effective. 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney. Children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? Effective. 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans.
We saw that. Let me do something real quick here. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. Sorry, I was looking for something else. All right, sorry. Washington, D.C. Mayor Marion Bowser, I think I speak for all Americans when I don't believe it's legal to use them. Oh, yeah, we saw this. It's another person. And it says, I want the American military to come to Denver and arrest the governor, mayor, AG, and Jenna Griswold, along with the Denver City Council and most of the Democrat lawmakers. Start putting dangerous illegals on planes. I'm muted? I'm not muted. What? I'm not muted. What are you talking about? Start putting dangerous illegals on planes, homeless in insane asylums, and child predators in prison. Military should go in. Foreign and domestic. I do solemnly swear. Yeah, it says right there in the military, oh, foreign and domestic. So if we're domestic, then why is it in there? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. FBI crashed. We set up a task force out in North Virginia. Let's take a look. Could cops be cops? In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. All right, let's see. Here's more of this stuff.
Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops. And I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That is a 25% increase since the same time period last year. And just to put it in perspective, 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. Children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi. Your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops. Let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions. And that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami. These guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome stuff there. Because the task force's results prove what happens when bureaucrats get out of the way and let law enforcement do their jobs. 342 arrests in Virginia alone in a month. That's the Trump administration's America First in action, prioritizing public safety over political correctness. For years, D.C. insiders tied cops' hands with red tape and reform theatrics. While violent crime surged, now agencies are finally empowered to target real threats like MS-13 instead of chasing stats. Please the activists. The contrast is stark. Under Biden, sanctuary cities shielded criminals. Under Trump, task forces to dismantle them. Efficiency isn't complicated. Cut the bureaucracy, fund the boots on the ground, and watch the arrests stack up. Numbers don't lie. See the full arrests here. That's awesome. Awesome business there. Mm-hmm. Please, midterms are coming. We can't go back. Mm-hmm. Here's this one. Sources close to D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, Bowser, say she is furious, as her lawyers are now telling her she has no grounds to challenge President Trump's federalization of D.C. police due to the declared crime emergency, and that she must essentially surrender to the federal takeover. If Bowser interferes, Trump should order her arrest. Once she is charged, it's clear that her public comments could taint a potential jury pool. She must be subject to a gag order. If they can do it to me, they can do it to her. Finding a judge in D.C. She's furious because this is the nail in D.C.'s statehood coffin. Well, D.C. can't be a state. She's been in office for 10 years. Here is D.C. versus other large cities. She's done nothing to address this. Last 7 years, D.C. is worse than Chicago. Subordinate joke. They're all a joke. Wow. Look at this. It's crazy. It's crazy. It just been revealed that D.C. Mayor Bowser had looked into all legal options she could take to prevent Trump's D.C. takeover, but she found no options and admitted she can't stop him. The mayor is now furious. It turns out everything Trump is doing is legal and constitutional. Yes, what he's doing is completely constitutional and legal. Wow, man, we really dropped down to 18 people only watching on YouTube. Wow. I guess we're probably more than likely not going to be streaming late tonight. President Trump's decisive action to restore order in D.C. under Section 1, 270.40 of the Home Rule Act is fully lawful. Emergency powers exist for a reason. Bowser's outrage proves that she'd rather defend her castle against Mario to keep Princess Peach hostage than admit her own failures. That's a little Super Mario Brothers humor. But her name's Bowser, just like Bowser was the big baddie Mario. Crime stats are relevant when federal property and personnel are targeted. The mayor had years to fix DC's decay. Trump's move isn't just legal, it's necessary. Yeah, well, I would like to say to the 18 people who are still here, 19 people, please comment in the chat. Keep the chat moving along. It helps with the algorithm to kind of push it out to other people. We have been picking up some people that just, for whatever reason, over the last couple nights that YouTube has sent it out to. So for, participating in a chat, comments, stuff like that, hitting the like button, it actually helps a lot. It really does. Now we're down to 17. So I screwed up. Weak leadership can't block accountability. This is, Ken and the Democrats' reaction. This is Steve Chung, guy who looks like the guy Chung Lee or whatever, Odd Job from.
Ken, what have you learned, sir? Oh shit! Fuck. Okay. Think we lost Ken for a second. We'll try to get him back there. Ken, what have you learned, sir? Oh shit!
Fuck. What are you gonna do? Last night's chat was outstanding.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying. The news out of D.C. mayor's press conference is that her lawyers apparently do not believe they have the grounds to challenge President Trump's declaration of a D.C. crime emergency. The city appears to be surrendering to a federal takeover. Well, they were always under the federal government. Ken, you dork. Surrendering to the rule of law can be difficult for those who benefit from lawlessness. Checkmate. They don't want to make this a public discussion. Yeah. Because this is what, right here, you got this is D.C. police commander suspended, accused of changing crime statistics. The police union says its directive to change offenses classification comes from command staff. Yeah, they didn't actually pretends to be shocked. That's right. They didn't actually say what they said was that that the reason he got suspended was because they claim he made changes that were outside of the guidelines of the changes they approved. So that means they have standards for changing them. So it's coming from the top. So supposedly he did something that they're claiming, which we'll have to see, because according to the union, though, That's a bunch of dim. That they're doing all that stuff. Mm-hmm. White House sends out these stats, examples on D.C. crime. In 2024, Washington, D.C. had the 4th highest homicide rate in the U.S., with a homicide rate nearly 6 times higher than New York. Just last month, a D.C. police commander was suspended for manipulating crime data to make it seem lower than it actually is. The D.C. Police Union says this practice is widespread. Washington's D.C.'s homicide rate also topped Atlanta, Chicago, and Compton. Washington, D.C. has one of the highest robbery and murder rates among large U.S. cities nationwide, with numerous assaults and robberies on congressional staffers and members of Congress. In May, 2 embassy staffers were murdered. In June, a congressional intern was fatally shot just a short distance from the White House. Just days ago, a Trump administration staffer was mercilessly beaten by a violent mob. People will say they don't know a D.C. crime victim. Oh, let's see. Hi, I'm Anna. In 2020, I was attacked while walking to the post office blocks from the Capitol. A homeless man lunged at me and assaulted me. I survived, but the day changed my life. I fled D.C. as I waited for the U.S. Attorney's Office to prosecute. It took 2 years before my assailant went to federal prison for what he did to me that day, but my life has changed forever. My career, my home, lost. I can't return back there. I'm writing a book about what happened to me, and this week I'll be penning an op-ed of my experience. Wow, that's interesting. Could be mistaken, but I think your career has been well validated by your reporting on the border. My future in D.C. and media was in D.C. and media and politics. Sorry to hear what happened to you. But wait, we have more. Yeah, crime statistics changing them. I'm all for it. It's our nation's capital. It should be held to an incredibly high standard for safety. D.C. government has shown that for years they are not up to the task, but yet ill-informed voters continue to vote for the very thing that turned D.C. into an unsavory city. I covered crime as a police reporter in 1982. There were 322 homicides. Last year, there was 274. One is too many, but the city is safer than it used to be. Yeah, Jane, I don't agree with you, Jane Meyer. You're conflating things. The crime, the murder rate of 322 back in the 80s, those crime rates, those were when the crack epidemic and the cocaine epidemic was just flaring, and those were all drug murders and stuff. That's not happening anymore. The murders now are not just criminal on criminal. It's innocent victim, just normal people getting murdered in robberies and stuff. That's the difference. That's the difference, Jane. Yeah, and DC makes it nearly impossible to lawfully obtain concealed carry permits. Hope this changes going forward. Yeah, you would think it's been proven Democrats manipulate the numbers to fit their narrative, but legacy media keeps reporting the numbers without question. Why? We know why. That's right. We know why. We know why. There's Jack Poso saying, D.C. police commander placed on leave over deliberately falsifying crime data. Are you listening to an unhinged Trump trying to justify deployment of National Guard? Here's the reality. Violent crime is at a 30-year low. Yeah. No, it's not at a 30-year low. That's a lie. My crime stats used to mock Trump were cooked by the same people in charge of stopping it. That's not just bad policing. That's failed leadership. Here's Dr. Robert Malone. It says, D.C. ranks 5th for murder rates of all large cities in the United States. That's unacceptable. This is not just any city. This is our federal district. It's the people's beacon on the hill, where tourists, school children, and heads of state come to visit, where federal employees need to feel safe. The U.S. Constitution mandated the creation of a federal district not exceeding 10 miles square to serve as a seat of government, independent of any state authority. That's in the Constitution, independent of any state authority. So making it a state would be unconstitutional. Many schools would take students to D.C. Maybe not now as much. D.C. needs to be safe again. Hey, it says Brud 1RN92 became a YouTube member. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for becoming a member and starting to pay attention. And once you start paying attention, or once you become a casual listener, then eventually you will start paying attention. And then after you pay attention long enough, you will actually be able to see the matrix, what's happening, what's happening. But thank you very, very much. That will go towards the goal. The goal. I believe that makes us at $19 towards the goal. So many schools and summer camps still do. The crowds have not subsided with the passing years. If anything, there are more people than ever visiting D.C. Children with teachers crowd the mall and museums, including from other countries. They are here to see our country in action and learn its history. It's kind of a wondrous thing. Graphs is generated by Perplexity AI, which uses Python programming to compile the data from a lot of different sources. Homicide rates track racial demographics. Liberal cities with strict gun laws often have among the highest murder rates. What's more, there's no relationship between gun ownership and homicide rates across U.S. states. D.C. is a tough call, though. See my report. Murder rates, the smoking gun. Who's this guy? I don't know, Dr. Randall Bach. I don't know if I trust you or not, because you're saying there's no relationship with gun ownership and homicide rates across U.S. states. I would think the states that have the most civilian gun ownership would have the lowest rates, but that's just me. Let me pull this guy just to see what he is. Here's what it says. Overturning Zika, the pandemic that never was. Primary care physician, author of, okay, family. For some reason I'm thinking he might be anti-gun. Then we got our good friend. Oh, look at that. Now we got Rudd 1RN92 gifted one membership, so that would equal out to be we'll call that a $10 over for the two for the membership, and the gifted membership will make that 10. So that means with the super sticker of $5, that's 15, and then the $10 on Rubble, that brings us to 25. So that's 75 to go. Here's another fun fact about mayors of those crime-ridden cities. Let's see who got the gifted membership power, because that's what we like to do here. It says KZ Gypsy Muse received the gifted membership. Well, please thank Rudd 1RN92 for the gifted membership. St. Louis, Missouri is Tashara Jones, Democrat. Baltimore, Maryland, Brandon Scott, Democrat. New Orleans, Louisiana, LaToya Cantrell, Democrat. Detroit, Michigan, Mike Dugan, Democrat. Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, Democrat. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Sherelle Parker, Democrat. Chicago, Illinois, Brandon Johnson, Democrat. Atlanta, Georgia, Andre Dickens, Democrat. Houston, Texas, John Whitmire, Democrat. Los Angeles, California, Karen Bass, Communist, Democrat. New York, Eric Adams, Democrat, but he doesn't seem to be too crazy. Trump's held out olive branches to many Democrat mayors, and he said it was a top priority to work with them to revitalize and reduce crimes. And he has, but only some agreed to take it. Oh, because I watch every night. I don't chat, but I appreciate your chat and show. Well, I thank you for watching every night. I thank you for being here, and I really, really thank you for joining and becoming a member, and for gifting a membership. Hopefully someone will pay it forward. Rep. Maxine Waters said President Trump is trying to lead America to a civil war with his anti-illegal immigration, violent crime policies. What?
Words mean nothing. Actions mean everything. Watch this. Watch it very closely. Ask a lot of questions. Focus those cameras on everything that's going on, because this president is trying to lead us into what could be called a civil war. Words mean nothing.
So the lady who went out in the last administration of Trump's, in the first Trump administration, and said, if you see anybody from the Trump administration, attack them, push back on them, don't let them, make them unsafe in public, make them not feel safe out in public, make them leave, saying other people are going to push us to a civil war. Right. Wild how black Democrat politicians have replaced black Americans in their districts with illegals and still get supported by black Americans. It's crazy, right? So Maxine Waters has represented Compton since 1991. There were over 60,000 blacks there in 1980. Today, there are 20,000. There were 70,000 Hispanics there in 1980. Today, there are 70,000. That is kind of weird. She's trying to foment violence. Censure her. The Dems want to revive the Confederacy so bad. Oh, look, more Democratic propaganda. Now we got this. This is a great thing here. It says rapid response 47. Police union chairman Greg Pemberton. We completely agree with the president that crime in the district is out of control and something needs to be done with it.
We completely agree with the president that crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done with it. We have to go back to how we got here, though. In 2020, the D.C. City Council passed an enormous amount of legislation that handcuffed police officers, exposes them to administrative, civil, and even criminal liability, even when they do their jobs properly. And now, 5 years later, our authorized sworn strength is 4,000 sworn police officers. We currently have 3,180. So we have more than 800 vacancies for the position of police officer. And the way the department makes up for that gap is through 2 million hours of mandatory overtime every year. So the fact that we need help from federal law enforcement and maybe even the National Guard, it shouldn't come as a surprise. And we agree with that. I think one of the issues here, though, is that we all know that's going to be temporary. So in order to fix this problem and make sure that it doesn't ebb and flow and that the feds come in and we lower crime and then they leave and we're left holding the bag, it's very important that people know that there is underlying legislation that needs to be corrected so that we can actually properly staff this police department in order to properly police the city.
Is she a woman? Is she a woman? I think she's a woman. You know, America's back. America's in good hands. That's right. I still can't believe Trump said Operation Warp Speed was a huge success and the Epstein files were a hoax. Yeah. Yeah, this is Deep State David says violent crimes down. Yeah. 35% and 26%. Oh, yeah. We're not even through 2025 and it's already down 26%. That would imply, if you look at these numbers, so they're saying it was down 35% and 26%. So that means that from 2022 to 2025, it's down over 50%. Does anybody believe that? That's actually 60%. That would be insanity. Operation Making DC Safe and Beautiful. Oh. A multi-agency task force are hitting the streets of Washington, D.C., cleaning up crime and keeping our neighborhoods safe. In just one night, they arrested 37 criminals, seized 11 illegal firearms, and issued 4 narcotic charges. Well, here's the thing about the whole 11 illegal firearms. I don't think any firearm is illegal. I prefer them to be undocumented firearms, and I don't think documentation is required for any firearm, personally, under the Constitution. The Second Amendment doesn't say anything about having to have documentation or having to register them or anything, so how are they illegal? There's no such thing as an illegal firearm. You know, this guy was arrested. Look at this. Was arrested. This guy. Failure to appear for trial on assault offense. Operation Make DC Safe and Beautiful. This guy was arrested. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. I don't think you need a pistol, but always be careful of the tarantula heads. You got to be careful. Arrested. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol. Another one, huh? Another one, carrying a pistol without a license. I guess maybe I could do this. Oh, this guy looks sad. Unauthorized use of a vehicle? What does that mean? Why are his shorts so tight? Why has he got the weird haircut? I guess I could just do this. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, and carrying a pistol without a license. They got a lot of this going on in D.C. Carrying a pistol without a license business. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute, carrying a pistol without a license. You got a lot of drug dealers just carrying guns. Same thing. Possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, carrying a pistol without a license, carrying a pistol without a license. We got a lot of this stuff going on. This is Operation Make DC Safe and Beautiful shows federal forces deliver results where local leaders failed. 37 arrests, 11 illegal guns, but let's not pretend this fixes systemic rot. The real issue is DC's crime emergency stems from years of sanctuary policies to fund police rhetoric and bureaucratic paralysis. Trump's task force is mopping up this mess created by weak governance. We open carry here in Arizona, FAFO. I now audit the $3 billion wasted on the Federal Reserve renovations instead of public safety. Every dollar redirected from vanity projects to law enforcement is a win, but lasting change requires dismantling the ideologies that created this chaos. Clean streets today, accountability tomorrow. Exactly why the mayor is complaining and they are paid protesters because of stolen money. That's right. Yeah, I don't believe in any type of registration for guns. I think it's a violation of our Second Amendment rights. We got this from Libs of TikTok. Brian Schwab, the Attorney General of D.C., says that if we want to be safer in the long run, we cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it. So this is the guy who's in charge of prosecuting criminals says, hey, we can't, we're not going to solve crime by just arresting people and prosecuting them. What? Yeah. I thought this was Graves.
During the discussion, residents did not hold back, voicing their frustrations.
I blame the system.
Many questioning why kids aren't being held accountable.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources if we want to be safer in the long run. We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
During the discussion, residents did not hold back, voicing their frustrations.
So the guy that's supposed to be prosecuting people and in charge of that says, when law enforcement is thinking Trump, it's difficult to believe there's not a safety concern in D.C. D.C. Police Unit Chairman says crime in the District of Columbia is out of control. Oh, okay. Well, this is a longer one. This one I want to see. This is a longer one. This is 5 minutes. We didn't.
Well, look, we completely agree with the president that crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done with it. We have to go back to how we got here, though. In 2020, the D.C. City Council passed an enormous amount of legislation
that has led to the spike in crime.
In order to properly police the city.
Yeah, when you're left holding the bag. So you're saying you would essentially go back to the limited police force you have today that has led to the spike in crime. At least that's part of what has led to the spike in crime. Secretary Durham joined us live in the last hour, and here's how he described what is happening in our nation's capital.
Particularly here in the nation's capital, where we have tens of millions of visitors a year from around the world that come to see our monuments, our free museums. This is the place where we showcase America, and we can't showcase America in a place where the police are not allowed to enforce the law. President Trump has the back of police, not just here, but across the country.
You know, and that's what this has been about. So President Trump in the briefing room earlier, this is how he placed blame on how we got here in our nation's capital. Listen.
This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it.
He's been on this for a while on the no cash bail. Do you see it the same? Is that what's led to a lot of the problems?
Well, he's right that no cash bail is part of the problem, but it is a minute part of the problem.
Definitely.
The city council has passed so much legislation that is terrible for public
That
safety.
700,000 should just be rolled right into Maryland.
Act, the Youth Rehabilitation Act, the Second Chance Act, the Second Look Act, on and on. Every piece of legislation that the city council has passed as it applies to public safety has only deteriorated the system. And every aspect of our criminal justice system in D.C. is broken, and every aspect that's broken can be traced back to bad legislation that has been passed by radical.
Yeah, repeat offenders over and over with no accountability.
Jonathan Turley was on earlier, and he said Judge Janine Pirro now is going to drive a lot of change in that city. Here she was earlier on something she's raised issue with and not being able to prosecute kids. Listen.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks
who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws
Ask
are
and
weak.
ye shall
I
receive.
can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun.
This is obviously, Gregory, something you're familiar with.
Yeah, of course. And she's absolutely right that juveniles are prosecuted by a local district attorney. The Office of the Attorney General is a gentleman named Brian Schwab. Unfortunately, he subscribes to the restorative justice theory, which is that no juvenile should ever be detained for any crime they're convicted of, regardless of how heinous, even for shootings and murders. So she's right that we can go out, we can put handcuffs on them, we can arrest them. But one thing that's important is that the OAG here established a hotline. Police officers must get on the phone 24 hours a day and call the OAG to get permission to make an arrest. And 99 times out of 100, they tell us not to arrest that juvenile and just to send them on their way, even in violent, heinous crimes. And so she's absolutely right, and something needs to change. Regardless of what age you are, if you're out there committing armed carjackings or shootings or worse, you need to be held accountable. And we need to send a message to these kids that that's not acceptable in the nation's capital.
And we need that police force to ramp back up. I mean, just looking at these charts here, and the number is just clearly going down year after year, and that is obviously a huge thing to be dealt with here. We're going to keep watching all of it. Thank you so much, Gregory, for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Wow, that was a very good. That was a good one. I didn't catch that one before. So, DC Police Commander, yeah, we keep seeing that. And so let's not arrest, prosecute, and incarcerate violent criminals. Exactly what a dystopian dump. Yeah, look at that. The murder rate per 100,000, 27.54. I thought it was higher than that, actually. Bogota, Colombia, where they, Mexico City, Islamabad, Lima, Ottawa, Paris. Paris is 1.64, and you've seen all the stuff going on in Paris. London. Right there. For months after January 6th, President Biden maintained an intense military presence on D.C. streets with heavily armed soldiers, checkpoints, barriers, and razor wire. After one unarmed woman got killed by the Capitol Police, Democrats could save their fake tears. Yeah, look at that murder rate. Oof, 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 oof. Roseanne Boylan was also killed by police that day. I was beside her for the last 8 minutes of her life, and hardly anyone knows this patriot's name. Yeah. 2 women were killed by DC police, Ashley Babbitt, Roseanne Boylan. What's this say? Just to finish my idea, collocate Congress with Fort Riley near Conus Geo Center, exact with Ellis Air Force Base near the whole Geo Center. Might be a headache at first, but has a lot of side bennies. Co-locate Congress. Okay, I get it. With Fort Riley. Here. Well, see, what they really need to do, honestly, what really needs to happen, what really we should be pushing for, is they need to lift. I think it was in 1910 or somewhere around 1900 that they put a cap on how many people could be in Congress, and they basically what they did was they said for the longest time there was every number, like it was like 70,000 people was a congressman. But then they kept adding more congressmen, and they just capped the number of people in Congress. Said, nope, that's it. Now, no matter how many people there are, we're just going to keep this number of congressmen, and then we're just going to be changing it and spreading them and adding more and more people to each district. And that's become a major problem because that's not how Congress is supposed to operate. Congress is the house of the people, and it's supposed to be the people's representatives. It started out, it was supposed to be part-time. It was not supposed to be a full-time job. It was supposed to be, farmers and shopkeepers and businessmen and just people, homeowners and just other people, blue collar people, whatever. We're supposed to be able to go to Congress to represent their district, and their district should be a size where that everybody in that district can talk to that congressman. You should be able, you should be able to pick up the phone and get the congressman on the phone, or go in to talk to him, get a meeting with the congressman. How are you going to get a meeting with a congressman when they have 700,000 constituents? You're not, unless you got big money to get in there. They're not going to talk with you. That's what needs to get shrunk down. Like, really, I mean, maybe there should be 2,000 congressmen right now, or 4,000. But whatever it is, they need to do it. And there's really no reason that they would need to be all there all the time. They could figure it out. Yeah, that's how Congress is getting rich and fat, because there's so little of them. If there was money more, if there was 7 times the number of congressmen, so, let's say 435, right? So if there was 7 times, so 100, so That would be 4,000. So we're talking about 3,000. There was 3,000 Congress people. Yeah. No, actually, some of those states should have multiple congressmen because there shouldn't be the original when the country was first founded, when the first when Congress was established. I think it was 35,000. If you look it up, let's see. I'll look it up real quick. What was the original? Original. Okay. This. Yeah, it says right now it's a yeah. It says right now yeah. So here's what happened. All right. We'll find this in a second. So here's what happened with Congress. We're going to do this real quick. It says, here's the story. The U.S. House of Representatives, along with the Senate, is part of the federal government's legislative branch. Representation of the House is meant to be proportionate to the population. Each congressman or congresswoman represents a district with a set number of constituents. This is where things get tricky. The House had 65 representatives in 1790. As population kept growing, so did the House. In 1913, lawmakers set the number of districts or voting representatives in the lower chamber of Congress at no more than 435. So 1913. You know what else happened in 1913? Oh, that's when they established the Federal Reserve. Isn't that odd that at the same time they did that? They felt if Congress kept getting bigger, it would be too difficult to handle. It's not about too different to handle. It's about the people getting the proper representation. In 1913, the national population was just over 97 million. It's close to 326 million today. The average size of a congressional district based on a census is around 710,000, more than triple the average district of 210,000 based on a 1910 census apportionment. The size of each district is based on a census, which means maps get redrawn every 10 years. The difference between the largest and smallest districts in some states on a national level is significant. One example in Texas, District 22, the most populous in the Lone Star State, has 897,000 residents compared to 713,000 residents in the smallest congressional district. This is a difference of almost 184,000 people, or 20%. Another example is California. The difference between the largest and smallest in the Golden States over 121,000. Despite constant redistricting to balance district sizes, it's not uncommon for a district size to vary by more than 10%. The reason is often simply people move from one place to another. Texas, for example, is rapidly growing. The difference can easily get to 20%. So the set number of districts in combination with the growing population is a problem with no clear solution. We could have 600 districts and Congress may still function, but everything will come back to the same issue. Making districts smaller would give representatives a better chance to stay in touch with their constituents, which they should be. The House has lost the closeness. It would be nice to get it back. The House should be close to the people. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the closest thing to the people. Yeah. So see the number of representatives, how the population in millions, and so the number of representatives, they stuck it here, and it's been stuck here since 1910, and the population is just going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. So really, we should have. I don't know. They need to get some. They need to get it fixed, because this is ridiculous. How this have a population of almost 900,000 in this district for one congressman. I mean, just think. Okay, just do the math on that. So 900,000. So that would mean that if a Congress is only for 2 years, a congressional seat. So if every person in that district wanted to actually talk to the congressman about something, all right, that would put about 450,000 per year. All right. So that means that congressman would have to see more than 1,000 people per day, every day of the year. And he still wouldn't get to see every one of his constituents. Yeah. Congress needs to, it needs to get, it definitely needs to get fixed. Mm-hmm. Here we go. President Trump announced he's seizing control of DC's police force as he rolls out a series of false and misleading claims about crime in a city which is actually at historic lows. NBC continues a total inability to distinguish Democrat talking points from facts. Historic lows? I suppose if you consider the 2010s as prehistoric times. So yeah, here you go. Like, look at how the crime was here 2013, 2011. See how the crime went down, 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 then back up, spiked here. Same thing here. You had the 80s. Then we had this massive spike. This is the crack, cocaine, and crime. Like the 90s was a very, very crime time. But if they go back further, see, they stopped tracking here at 79. But I guarantee if you go back into the early 70s and the 60s, the early 70s was a huge spike in crime. Like New York had thousands, like 2,000 murders a year in New York in the early 70s. Chicago had 800, 900,000 in the early 70s. It was huge numbers. Why? Well, I can tell you why. Because in 1968, they passed this thing called the Gun Control Act, which made felons unable to defend themselves. So then anyone who was a felon couldn't legally own a gun. So they were living in neighborhoods that were bad, most of them. And then they were easy targets for people that wanted to rob them or kill them because they knew they couldn't have a gun, because if they didn't want to go to prison for 10 years for having a gun illegally, that's why the crime rate spiked. And it happens if you look too, like right whenever they pass new gun control, you always have a spike in crime and violence. It just happens. Always. It always happens. Expecting politicians to vote to dilute their own political power is farcical at best. It's not up to them, though. It's really not. I mean, it actually should be a lawsuit. I mean, maybe we should get a lawsuit and sue and force them to do it, because they're taking our voices away. It's us, the people, that are being harmed by it being this way. And if the people say we want it, then the Congress should do it, right? Democrat history apparently only goes back to the Obama administration. Not even that far. Much of it was under Obama. Democrats apparently only have the ability to remember 4 years of history. It explains so much. And then here we go. We have Mayor Bowser calls Fed takeover of D.C. unsettling, but not totally surprising. Oh, she's not surprised. She Bowser. D.C. Mayor Mario Bowser called the Trump administration's takeover of the D.C. police unsettling and unprecedented, but said collaboration with federal leaders will continue in her first news conference hours after the president's executive order on Monday. It's not really up to her, is it? Mayor Bowser has remained mostly quiet on the topic in early August after the president accused her and city leaders of not doing enough to combat crime and homelessness in the city following an alleged attack on a Department of Government Efficiency staffer. But Monday became the most definitive action of the Trump administration by enacting Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act, allowing the president roughly 30-day control over the Metropolitan Police Department. I think they should challenge the D.C. Home Rule Act because it's unconstitutional. How can a statute override the Constitution? It can't. The Constitution has to supersede. So the Constitution says that D.C. is not supposed to have any local or state control. It's supposed to be completely federal. So how can they do this then? I mean, politicians are always passing statutes, laws in Congress that are unconstitutional. I mean, just look at the NFA, the GCA, the Hughes Amendment, the income tax is unconstitutional. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. All types of stuff always happening. And so it needs to be challenged. I do not know that the request NPD would be made, but I believe that they will announce they're going to call up the National Guard. I had one brief call related to the National Guard issue over the weekend, Bowser said. D.C. is a beautiful city. It's home to 700,000 people and welcomes millions every year. We have the #1 park system, fantastic public schools. Press X to doubt on the fantastic public schools part. We're at a 30-year low in violent crime. No, you're not. No, you're not. We just looked at the charts. It's not a 30-year low. D.C. leaders cannot directly authorize the National Guard. The decision is made by the president with powers delegated to the Pentagon and the Secretary of the Army. The Army approved the request Monday evening. Trump has claimed that crime is out of control in the nation's capital, though D.C. mayor said the president has been made aware of these crime decrease since 2023. Still, the White House claims D.C. has violence levels higher than those in other capital cities and other countries, which is completely true. Bowser reiterated that the city is required to collaborate with the federal government through the D.C. Home Rule, adding she will continue to ensure that law enforcement officers are clearly identifiable. But how is D.C. a sanctuary city? How are they allowed to do that? How is D.C. allowed to make marijuana legal when it's a federal crime? Does anyone explain that? When it's a federal district, shouldn't be possible. How is it possible for them to override federal law? It shouldn't be possible. Bowser also condemned the use of military force on military grounds and said the military shouldn't be used on American citizens. Well, we've shown that happens all the time. Oh. Choosy took your crown, so you're going to sleep. Good night, Jim, Barbie, mother. Okay, well, sorry to hear that he took your crown. Wow. Wow. We're going to do our best to maintain the trust that DC residents have in us. What could be a disaster if we lose communities who won't call the police? That could be a disaster. It would be a disaster. Communities don't call the police if a crime has been committed. I think, doesn't that happen now? Isn't there a lot of, they don't call the police? They don't, no snitches get stitches? Isn't that like the normal stuff going on there? DC Police Union leader endorses Trump's federalization of law enforcement. Metropolitan Police Department Union Chairman Greg Pemberton on Monday endorsed President Trump's move to assume federal control of the MPD and employ National Guard to the nation's capital. It's a part of an effort to crack down on crime and homelessness. Trump on Monday declared Liberation Day for D.C. Announcing the takeover for the city's police force after previously warning the city to clamp down on youth offenders. The move came in the wake of a string of high-profile criminal incidents, including the mass beating of former Doge employee Edward Big Balls Corstine. We stand with the president in recognizing that Washington, D.C. cannot continue on this trajectory. Crime is out of control and officers are stretched beyond their limits. According to federal intervention is a critical stopgap, but the MPD needs proper staffing and support to thrive. Critics of the move have pointed to a reported drop in crime, though such arguments have struggled to gain traction amid the suspension of MPD staff responsible for compiling those figures due to allegedly faking the stats. Mm-hmm. Yep. This says Border Hawk, which is a good on X. If you haven't followed Border Hawk, I suggest you check him out because he's always posting some good stuff. Sanctuary City, DC looks like a third world hellhole. Representative Brandon Gill. Mm-hmm. It disturbs me that as my rep, you're buying smoke and mirrors. Oh, look, crime is falling. Look at here. Yeah, look at violent crime so far 2025. Oh yeah, down, spike down. But how is it going down? Because the way they're tracking is they're calling it something else. The guy explained how they did it. It's called juking the stats. Really? You're going to do this, Border Hawk? You're going to make me? You're going to make me do this, a Border Hawk? You're going to make me do this? Sorry, I didn't know that this guy was going to be one of those peoples. It's going to make me... So this will take a second for it to archive the URL because it won't let me read the story. See, it's blocking me out. Blocking me out here. So we're going to have to wait a second while it does this. Rod says, I scheduled a tour of the Capitol in April during cherry blossom. I was amazed how acceptable his office was. The assistant gave my niece a personal tour, watch Huckabee get confirmed. Well, that's cool. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Sorry, guys. It's going to take a second to load this up. Nothing I can do about it. Wow, this is taking forever, man. Maybe I should come back to it. No, I don't have a P.O. box. Should I get one? I guess I could go get one. You know what? Tomorrow or the next day, I'll go get a P.O. box. It's not that difficult. I don't need a big one. So I'll go get one. I was thinking about it in case somebody wants to send me something. But we'll see. I'll get one. I'll get a P.O. box just because you asked. All right, here we go. Here we go. Border Hawk. Sanctuary City, D.C. looks like a third world hellhole. Conditions in our nation's capital are disgraceful. The United States is the most powerful country in the world has ever seen, and we're mostly economically prosperous, and yet our capital city looks like a third world hellhole. Just go a few blocks away from the capital, and you're in very dangerous territory. Rep. Brandon Gill told Border Hawk during a recent interview. This is a place that congressmen have to live, their families have to live, members of the administration have to live. Government officials, our staff, they're saying you don't get a police force adequately clean up. You don't have to. It's just curious. Well, no, you're not the first person that asked me about it, but I think I'll go get one anyway, because just in case somebody wants to send something. Rep. Gill says Congress needs to exercise its authority over Washington, D.C. a lot more aggressively. I think it's disgraceful that the capital city make it look like a third world. He echoes Rep. Tim Burchett said the same thing. It's not a safe place. It's not a safe town. I worry a lot of tourists and stuff. Oh, let's see what this is. Oh, it won't let me do it because it's they won't let me watch. Days later, Eric Tapani and Jackman, a 20-year-old congressional intern, was gunned down by suspects who opened fire on another group on a busy street near the White House. Sick and tired of radical judges trying to shut down everything we're doing. Venezuelan illegal arrested for killing a wheelchair-bound victim in a hit and run. Wow, that's crazy. That's just crazy. With President Trump's anticipated announcement on stopping violent crime in D.C., it's time to push hard for federalizing our nation's capital city. D.C. chaos under Mayor Beryl Bowser demands it. Let's revisit her 2020 blunder that sheds light on this. Let's see. Yeah. So this is what he's looking at right here. Hold tight. It's crazy, right? Crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mayor Bowser evicted over 1,200 National Guard troops including Utah's 19th Special Forces Group from D.C. hotels during the George Floyd protests in 2020, called the troop deployment escalatory, but they were protecting federal buildings and keeping order when D.C. couldn't or wouldn't. That eviction made D.C. less safe. Kicking out the guard left D.C. exposed. I don't think Cash App takes anything, as far as I know. Cash App doesn't take anything, as far as I know. Yeah, kicking out the guard left D.C. exposed amid chaotic protests with fires, vandalism, and clashes raging. Stripping away trained troops signaled weakness, putting residents, businesses, and monuments at a higher risk of violence and looting. PayPal, if you leave a tip, they don't take anything. If it's a payment, they take a percentage because it's a business account. But there's a tip jar. I could like this. Here's the Cash App one, and then here, this is the PayPal tip jar in the corner of the screen right now, where it says tip jar. If you take a picture of that with your camera, it'll go to a tip jar for PayPal. They don't take anything off of that either. There's also the link for PayPal, but that's it's the same type of thing. So either one works. And I leave the Cash App one up there because I don't know. I don't know. PayPal, Cash App, PayPal, Cash App. Yeah, stripping away trained troops signaled weakness, putting residents, businesses, and monuments at risk. Bowser's call was political over safety. Her stunt undermined security when D.C. needed it most, leaving our capital vulnerable and escalating risks instead of de-escalating them. While her voters in D.C. might have appreciated that for reasons that are tough to understand, it was bad for the country. That's a perfect example of why D.C. needs to be under legislative authority of Congress, as the Constitution directs. That's right. This chaos, teen offenders, violent attacks in a city where staffers fear walking streets, is a direct echo of Bowser's 2020 blunder, putting politics first and leaving D.C. vulnerable. Her track record has turned our capital into a danger zone, failing residents year after year. This is why we need the Bowser Act. Home rule is a disaster, transforming our capital into crime-ridden mess. Repeal it and restore congressional oversight and make D.C. a safe, shining example. It's time to act. D.C. shouldn't be a cautionary tale of a failed governance. It's our nation's capital city. Federalize D.C. to stop the chaos and bring back safety. Let's fix this once and for all and watch tomorrow's announcement. It could be a start. Please share if you agree. And then this is from, this says, D.C.'s crime stats may dip, but federalizing the capital isn't about numbers. It's about restoring order. Bowser's failures, like her 2020 National Guard blunder, prove local leadership can't secure streets. Trump's move to deploy federal agents targets lawless zones where D.C.'s police underperform. When bureaucrats prioritize optics over safety, chaos follows. The real issue is bloated city budgets fund everything except effective enforcement. It's time to cut the waste, prioritize accountability, and back federal action that delivers results. 100%. Yes. 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 So here's this. We got this from the Hill, or USA Today. Says Trump says Washington is unsafe, but the data tells a more nuanced story. In Washington, crime is relatively high, but far from the highest in the country, and it's been on a downward trend. Oh, okay. And Trump's social post, Trump suggested changing the law. ATF in Washington said they're ensuring that residents of District of Columbia are safer this evening. Okay, let's see. This is okay. Yeah, this is some weird thing where they play music and then it does it to basically. President Trump is deploying the National Guard to Washington to combat the bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. But crime data paints a much more nuanced picture of what's going on. So among major cities, Washington does have relatively high rates of violence and murder, but it's much lower than violent crime rates in some cities Trump has highlighted, such as Memphis, Tennessee. So that's a city. In D.C., different types of cities tend to be concentrated in different parts of the city. Different types of crime tend to be concentrated in different parts of the city. What are they trying to say with that? Are they trying to say that different demographics have different crime rates? Is that really where they're going? Is that really where they're going? I just got a gifted membership to Camelot's channel. That's weird. In D.C., the crime overall has been a downward trend in recent years. The murder rate is far below its historic peak. Oh. Thaddeus Johnson, a senior fellow with the Nonpartisan Council on Criminal Justice and former police officer, said the capital is on par with other big cities. He explained that, like many of its counterparts, D.C. saw crime increase during the height of the COVID pandemic and the years that followed, but it's now seeing a decrease. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of work to do. Here's what you need to know. Metropolitan Police Department reported a 35% drop in violent crimes and a 15% decrease in overall crime from 2023 to 2024. Matthew Graves, a former U.S. attorney who also served as a city's local prosecutor, cited these stats in January as a testament to his prosecutorial strategy. Yeah, he was probably responsible for a lot of the downgrades too. Between 2023 and 24, crime categories went down between 2% theft not related to cars and 64% arson. But 2023 also saw 274 homicides reported, higher than any year since 2005. We have to be mindful that we had almost historic peaks in these crimes, so we're going to have to get back to par. And we're still working that way, but we're getting closer. Violent crime is down so far in 2025. Violent crime in Washington through August 8th drive 26% compared to the same time period of 2024, according to data from the Metropolitan Police Department, who totally isn't cooking the books. It includes a 50% decrease in sex abuse. Really? Overall crime is down 7% so far. Motor vehicle theft is level, and burglary is down 20%. Johnson said 200 or so people tend to be responsible for much of the crime in a city like D.C. So 200 people are responsible for all the crime. Wait, it says if you choose goods and services, now you're giving away your address away. I think I have it set up just as a tip. So it's just money, it's nothing. You don't have to give any address, I don't believe. Because although I'm doing a good service, it's not goods and service. Yeah, no, I think it's just set up as a tip thing. It's not for I don't think you have to select anything. I think you just put the tip amount. Johnson said people tend to be responsible. I think that's let me do something real quick here. Make sure this. We'll go this for PayPal. Yeah, so this is what should come. This is what should come up on a screen if you go to if you click the PayPal link. It should just be this. It says, fill in your tip amount. And you just put the amount and put, you can use Venmo, you can use PayPal, you can use Pay Later, or you can use a credit card, debit card, whatever. So, yeah, that's all. That's simple. You don't have to do any other thing. You don't need to put any address in. You don't need to put any. It's just a tip. Fill in your tip amount. That's it. If there's only 200 people committing all the crime, why don't they just get rid of the 200 people? Then they would get rid of the crime. Crime tends to be concentrated in black and brown communities. Oh, that's weird. Isn't that racist to say? Huh. Violent crime and property crime are concentrated. Violent crime in Washington is high in the Ward 8 to southeastern corner of the city that includes the low-income area of Anacostia, according to an interactive map on the city's government website, followed by Ward 7 and 5 in the eastern part of the city. Violent crime is the lowest in Ward 3 in the affluent northwest part of the city, bordering Maryland and across the Potomac River from Virginia. Property crime is the highest in Ward 2, a tourist-heavy area that includes the National Mall, the White House, and other landmarks. In Ward 5, an area in the northeast, the city borders Maryland. Washington has a comparatively high murder rate. Washington's rate of murder and non-negligent manslaughter was 25.5 per 100,000 in 2024, according to USA Today analysis. That puts D.C. at number 5 among more than 30 cities with more than 500,000 people. The FBI categorizes crime differently from the Metropolitan Police Department, so the rates will vary slightly from police department's data, but the categorization is consistent across the country, and the FBI's best source for comparing local crime data nationally. Yeah, but if the guy said that there's ways that they change the thing so that it doesn't appear to be what it is what they say. That's what it is, what they say. That's what they say. When violent crime is factored in, Washington ranks lower among large cities. But the city's violent crime rate is 926 per 100,000, according to USA Today. Well, that's because they're lowering they're doing the violent crime and changing it from assault with a deadly weapon bad, assault with a deadly weapon gun to, like some kind of a felony assault or some other thing, so, which isn't listed anywhere. That's what the guy said. It's not listed in part of the things that are tracked. Violent crime includes murder and non-negligent manslaughter, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. Yeah, so they change it from an aggravated assault or aggravated battery to felony assault, which isn't listed. That's what the guy said. Crime in D.C. used to be much higher. A generation ago, crime in D.C. was so high that the city earned the moniker the murder capital. I think that moniker goes to whoever's winning. But the number of homicides increased steadily from 148 in 85 to a peak of 482 in 91, according to a report by the Criminal Justice Research Center. What was it in the 70s, though? Let's see. Let's see, because Jim likes to do this stuff. So let Jim see here. Let's see. Hold on. Let's see here. So we have this. Pull this up real quick just to show people what this says. So it says murder rates in U.S. cities in the 1970s. It says the United States experienced a significant increase in the murder rates, with the homicide rate more than doubling from the 60s. Huh, that's odd. The surge in violence was particularly pronounced in major cities. It involved a shift towards more impersonal and stranger perpetrated homicides. That's right. So it wasn't like people that, now that a lot of times it's people that knew people. So the homicide rate rose from 4.6 per 100,000 in 1962 to 9.7 per 100,000 by 1979. I think it was even higher, though, in the early 70s. 1970s crime wave. Let's see what this is. The 1970s crime wave. It's going to have any charts or no? No charts. Let's go back. Let's see. Let's see. So here was an. Let's see. So it says during doesn't say how many though. It's saying the rates went to here. It says from 1970 to 79 there was 5,000 homicides in L.A. What about D.C.? Let's go to this. And from 72 to 74, so look, it's the number of homicides in D.C. demonstrating a modest increase from 72 to 74, 264 to 299. And so it started going down until 79 when it got to 195. And then the homicide rate started spiking again in the 80s. So the homicide rate in 1972 to 74 was almost 300. So it was way higher in the 70s than it is right now. And that's what where crime rates in the 70s even today, but it began with a few facts. Between 60 and 80, the homicide rate doubled, and the violent crime rate, as measured by police reports, tripled. Yep, that's what happened. That's what happened. Those rates went up, but the 90s was pretty high too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's what was going on. It says the Reagan police fired tear gas at protesters who set fire near the White House, and unrest continued in cities across America for the 6th consecutive night. This was in 2020. This was going on for nights and nights and nights in 2020. But then you got Democrats, the White House went dark, turning off almost all of its external lights. Yeah, this was as they set fires, smoke was seen rising. This is when they set fires at the White House. Look at this. When they set and then the White House, Trump had to get down in the bunker and all that. Right here, see the fires and everything in the White House, and it was an organized attack by the DNC. So yeah, but people will say that that's not, people will say that that's not, that was nothing, Not reading what? What are you talking about? I was looking for something. I'm trying to find the data. Nationwide demonstrations for that. This is all about 2020, so. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. CNN's Dana Bash talking about President Trump's plan to address crime in D.C. I should know that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th. So yeah, this was supposed to be before that. So yeah, they're talking about how violent it was on January 6th, but they ignoring all that stuff that happened in 2020 when they were burning down stuff around the city, when they lit the church on fire, when they lit buildings on the grounds of the White House on fire, and the president had to be taken down to the bunker. Yeah. So here's these idiots from
And just as we go to break, I should note that the most violent moment in recent history in D.C. was January 6th. And it was an attack on the United States Capitol by a lot of people who were doing it in the name of Donald Trump. And it included, the people who were hurt included members of law enforcement.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, that was the most violent time. Not this here. Not this right here. When they lit, look at this, the fires. That is the White House right there. So attack on the White House. She's fine with an attack on the White House. She's cool with that. This wasn't the most violent time. This went on for days, weeks. But they're not upset about that. This, of course, is not true, as the BLM riots and disruptive protests in D.C. lasted for weeks, followed by high rate of crime in the years after. BLM literally set the D.C. streets on fire during the May 2020 riots. They attacked the White House. Yeah, see? Look at the streets on fire. These are the streets on fire. You can see fire, 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 fire. Oh, sorry. I wasn't sharing it. Sorry, I wasn't sharing this. Yeah. Oh, here, yeah. So here's all this stuff on fire. You can see the fires. Mm-hmm. I guess she completely forgot June 2020 when Antifa and Floyd protests were trying to burn down the city. Over 400 Secret Service and D.C. police were injured. They tried to breach the White House gates, and the president had to be moved to an underground bunker for safety. Yeah, remember? This is right here. Or all this. Yeah, but January 6th was the most violent thing that ever happened in D.C., according to this lady. Let alone, it wasn't just that long ago, too, that they tried to blow up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a D.C. woman whose brother was attacked and murdered by a group of juveniles reacts to the crime problems. All these mothers' children have been killed in the streets by juveniles, been carjacked by juveniles.
These people here in D.C., all these mothers, children been killed in the streets by juveniles, being carjacked by juveniles.
The 5 girls who attacked Reggie Brown were all tried and found responsible as juveniles. Currently under D.C. law, juvenile offenders can only be held until they're 21, so the girls will all get out within the next few years. Israel says she wants D.C. crime penalties to be tougher so that juveniles who commit murder can be held for life.
These people here in D.C., all these
Sure looks like
mothers,
Joe forgot to
children
forward
been
his
killed in the
thing to me,
streets
even
by
though I asked him and
juveniles,
paid him
being
$10.
carjacked by
What do you
juveniles.
know?
The 5 girls who attacked Reggie Brown were all tried and found responsible as juveniles. Currently under D.C. law, juvenile offenders can only be held until they're 21, so the girls will all
Thanks
get
a lot,
out within the
Joe.
next few years. Israel says she wants D.C. crime penalties to be tougher so that juveniles who commit murder can be held for life.
These people here in
That's very upsetting that I sent Joe a $10 super chat to remind him to send his people over to me, and he didn't do it. Wow. Thanks, Joe. Now sending the National Guard to my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. It's just as bad. Juveniles are some of the worst offenders. Yeah, well, we could do that. Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? He left quick and didn't raid. It was pretty shitty of him. I wonder if something might have happened, something go wrong or whatever. It's something might have went wrong because it looked like he still had plenty of time left. Like maybe he needed to. It says no need. Okay, yeah, no need. We're here anyways. I came over on my own. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody here. Please hit the like. Please subscribe. Yeah. Where was that comment though? I want to see. Someone said something about. Oh yeah, to the bombing. Yeah, that there was a Democrats bomb the Capitol, and you know who was part of that bombing? I think it was in the was it the 80s, 70s or 80s? They bombed. Was Marxist. I'm pretty sure Karen Bass was involved in that. Karen Bass was involved in that and got pardoned. Karen Bass got pardoned by Clinton, I think. Well, I think everybody who's here. Now that we're up to 47 people. Yeah, yes. For some reason, Joe is in pain. Oh, I hope he's all right. No, the Weather Underground was in the 60s. This was in the here. This was in the Well, this says, according to the AI overview, there seems to be a misunderstanding. Karen Bass was not involved in the Capitol bombing. The bombing of the U.S. Senate occurred in 1983 and was attributed to the Maoism Armed Resistance Unit, also known as the Resistance Conspiracy. Karen Bass was involved in the Venceremos Brigade, a group that organized trips to Cuba, and she visited Cuba multiple times in the 70s. However, there's no evidence linking her to the Capitol bombing. Yeah, so let's read this one. It says, in 1983, U.S. Senate bombing was a terrorist attack that took place at the United States Senate in 1983. See, they bombed the Senate, okay? As protests against the United States involvement in Lebanon and grenade attack led to a heightened security. 6 members of the Armed Resistance Unit were arrested in May 1988 and charged with the bombing. So it happened in 83 and they didn't arrest them until 88? What? As well as related bombings at Fort McNair and Washington Navy Yard, which occurred in 83 and 84. So they did all this stuff and they bombed all this stuff, but they act like this never happened. The Democrats said, no, January 6th was the worst. January 6th was the worst thing that ever happened. Damn January 6ers. Yeah. Yeah, they set all that on fire. They did all the stuff. Yeah, I mean, look what they did. Look at the fires, all those fires on the right. Glenn Beck called the group M19. Yeah. Yeah. So she was involved with the group, but she took a bunch of trips, but they say there's no direct ties to her and yeah. Yeah, favorite screenshot on the right. Guy. Okay. Yeah, so this is watch live. It's the DC mayor reacts to Trump's capital crime crackdown. Mostly peaceful. I know, mostly peaceful, mostly peaceful. Fiery but peaceful. Fiery but peaceful. So, I don't know. This is a long interview, so we're not going to watch it all, but I'm going to speed it up too because I can't stand slow talkers.
Announcement from the White House. So I'll have a short statement and then we'll be able to take a few questions. So let me start by saying this. Washington, D.C. is a beautiful city, magnificent city. We're home to 700,000 Washingtonians. We welcome millions of visitors every year from around our nation and around the world. We have the nation's premier park system, fantastic public schools, including a free and robust pre-K program starting at age 3. We have a tremendous public transportation system, and we have hardworking people here who are raising families, starting businesses, and hiring workers. So it's very important to me that for all who live here and visit here, just know how beautiful our city is and how proud we are of all that we've accomplished here. We're unique in other ways as well. Though we pay taxes, in fact, we pay more than most states per capita. We're not a state. We don't control the DC National Guard. We don't have senators or full autonomy. Limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy.
You don't have any autonomy, lady. It's a federal district set up by the Constitution. Go back. Just carve it out and send it back to Maryland. That's what needs to happen.
Pam Bondi. I have reached out to Attorney General Bondi and hope to schedule a meeting soon. Important while we have additional federal police officers.
And so having our Metropolitan Police Department working alongside of our federal partners who have come into the city to really help us assess and deal with the crime, that some of the crime spikes that we have, we will work alongside them. But
by a uniform, a badge, a jacket, so that people know that they are law enforcement.
Okay, she's just ridiculous. I don't understand what this is all about. Capital crime rate, yeah, 41 per 100,000 homicide rate. Look at this. Wow, Statistica. That's nuts. From 2019 to 2024, data estimates. Yeah. I mean, there you go. There's the crime rates. Where do the leftists get their propaganda talking points from? If these weren't actual people, I would think this was a sock puppet farm. Do they grant access to their accounts to someone working in a basement of DNC to run a disinformation op? I think a lot of these people turn over their accounts to let people. Yeah, well, that would help. Repeal the 19th. A couple of things we need to repeal. I'll see you with a total hip replacement followed by a traumatic pelvis fracture requiring stabilization surgery along with broken sacrum. That's been the last 6 months. Wow. Pat Graham says, it has not been fun. I live with a TENS unit on almost every day. Well, I have an implanted spinal cord stimulator. So there you go. Says, I get the moment for sure. It feels like he treats Jim like Jim works so hard for trying to contribute to other folks' content in a way that others have. Well, Joe's helped me out a lot. That's what I'll say about that. So, anyway. We're all old as heck. Yes, we are. Uh-oh. Hey, look at this. DC crime hit a 30-year low. DC crime, 30-year low. MAGA doesn't know anything. MAGA, this is illegal. It's illegal. Oh, you've never heard of a spinal cord stimulator? Yeah, it's basically like a TENS unit, but it's the wires they go up your spine and they put, like mine, I have actual pads that are mounted on the vertebrae and it directly hits the spinal cord. So it helps. Trump is using another lie. Yeah. Must be a group email distribution list from the Democrat Party, giving them the same talking points, make them look like idiots more so than usual. You would think such an email blast would make its way to the public domain. It's very suspect. Yeah, it smells like a disinformation op, definitely. Fact post. Trump painted quite a dystopian picture of D.C., saying it was overtaken by violent gangs, by bloodthirsty criminals. Imagery that doesn't necessarily compute with a lot of people's experience in the city, but also what the actual number shows. Statistics show that violent crime in Washington has been falling. And so here's these guys all saying, crime is down. Don't believe your lying eyes.
The president's steps here to federalize the D.C. police force certainly very significant. What we didn't hear from the president was how long that would last. You know, the statute that he's using, the D.C. Home Rule Act, allows for initial federalization for 48 hours before notifying
No, I didn't say
Congress.
Joe was a bad
he said
guy.
That he was doing that. So beyond that, we don't know exactly how long it would last. The other thing that stuck out was the president raising open the possibility that he would use active duty troops as part of this effort, saying that they would be ready as needed to join the federal or National Guard.
Yeah, injections can work if they're done right in the right spot. They can really help.
You really did hear the president paint quite a dystopian picture of Washington, D.C., saying that it was overtaken by violent gangs, by bloodthirsty criminals, using this imagery that doesn't necessarily comport with a lot of people's experience in this city, but also with what the actual numbers show. You know, statistics do show that violent crime in Washington is falling since reaching a peak in 2023. The president's
nobody said Joe was a bad guy.
Some of those figures, you heard the president come out saying that some of those statistics might have been cooked, but really when you look at the numbers, what the president is painting is an image that doesn't necessarily match up with what the figures show, but also with what a lot of people's experience is in the city is. And so a significant step by
Yeah, definitely. Trump's dystopian nightmare of D.C. overrun by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals is pure fiction. Oh, sure it is. The actual FBI data tells a different story. Sure, that's dropped. Yeah, the data that was provided to them by, D.C. Police Command suspended for faking crime stats. Yeah, okay. Yeah. He's talking about Brentwood and Deanwood, not Chevy Chase. I dare you to go for a stroll in those areas. But yeah, that's the other thing too, is a lot of these reporters and other people, they live in very expensive neighborhoods. I'm actually worried that something's wrong. Someone said he wasn't feeling well and he left, because when I looked, like not too long ago, he still had like a half hour on his goal, and it looked like he got really close to hitting his goal to go an extra hour. So I just hope everything's all right. I was kind of just joking around. Like, oh, that's shitty, but I hope he's okay. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I hope he's okay. That something wasn't wrong. Someone said he was in pain. So CNN decided to fact check Trump by trying to make the point that DC crime is improving year to year. They used figures from DC's local police. Their case might have been even stronger if DC's police commander hadn't just been suspended for changing the crime statistics. Yeah. Note where the police union supports Trump's move and accused the MPD leadership of falsifying crime data. Yep. Fake news using fake stats. I don't know. I don't think that. I think something actually. I don't think he forgot. I think something bad happened. I hope he's all right. It sure looked like he maybe something was wrong there. There we go. We got Reverend Al Sharpton attempting to link January 6th to Trump's decision to deploy federal law enforcement to curb crime. The guest rejected it outright. Brilliant rebuttal. I say that as somebody who's been a D.C. resident for nearly 2 decades. I've seen firsthand what D.C. has gone through post-pandemic, and it's been tough. Though crime might be down right now, it'll come right back up because Mayor Bowser's leadership has failed time and again, and I've given her a chance. Let's see here. Oh, he's having back spasms? Oh, those can suck really bad. Am I a Christian or give random advice? Sure. I am a Christian, and I do give random advice. Has anyone ever tried Epsom salt baths? It can really help, especially sleep. Sure. Yeah, he left pretty quick. Well, sometimes the best thing really Oh, okay. I guess Lori Wagner doesn't like Christians who give random advice or something. I don't know. That was weird. Okay, bye. Joe isn't home either to sleep in his own bed. He said Lady Logic is doing a lot to help him. Oh, that's good. Trade him. Sure, that could help. Sorry, Lori, that you feel that way. I don't.
Yeah, and it doesn't escape me that he defended the January 6 rioters right there in Washington, D.C., and pardoned some of them. But Rena, on Friday night and throughout the weekend, the White House increased its federal law enforcement presence on the streets of D.C. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser first reacted to this on this network this morning. Take a listen.
We are not experiencing a crime spike. And one reason I wanted to be here today is to let people know that their nation's capital is among the most beautiful and best cities in the world. It's well run. We have excellent schools, the #1 park system. We have experienced rises in tourism compared to before the pandemic. So people are coming to our capital. They're starting business in our capital, and they're raising families in our capital. And any comparison to a war-torn country is hyperbolic and false.
Is an increase in federal surveillance and guns on the streets really the answer here? Rena?
Put it this way, Rev, it's a starting point. And I'm not somebody who says that lightly. I say that as somebody who has been a D.C. resident for nearly 2 decades. I have seen firsthand what D.C. has gone through post-pandemic, and it has been tough. And though crime may be down right now, it will come right back up because Mayor Muriel Bowser's leadership has failed time and time again. And I have given her a chance. Many people across the city have given her a chance to say, you can do better for us. You can keep our communities safe.
She's calling the, like the Vietnam Memorial, the World War II, all the memorials, and the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, and all that stuff. That's her parks. So that's her park system because it's the park police. It's the DC Park Police. So she considers that her parks. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't get it. I don't know what I mean. I've never talked about religion really at all on the show. I'm not I don't believe in organized religion really. I'm not I'm not a big fan of organized churches. I think a lot of that's why I don't talk about it because I don't want to upset people, but I don't like a lot of the stuff I see going on. I think I think what would Jesus say about a lot of stuff, basically.
From violent carjackings that have resulted in deaths on K Street, which is a business hub, death of an Uber driver simply trying to deliver food in Navy Yard. These stick out to me because these aren't isolated incidents. It's just part and parcel with what comes with raising a young family in the nation's capital like I have. Those things she all mentioned are all fine and well, but none of it speaks to how safe Washington, D.C. actually is. It is not a safe city.
No, retired nurse, I'm not being mean. Some lady came in and asked a question. Let me pull it up. And I thought I answered it. Like, she's like, Jim, are you Christian and or give random advice? And I said, sure, I guess. What do you want to know? And then she goes, okay, bye. I was like, okay, well, what was that about? So, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I said. I thought she was asking like she wanted some advice, so I was like, sure. I don't know.
city. It is not a city that is well run because guess what? The minority seat on the council has never even been, in my recollection, for at least a decade and a half, if not more, been occupied by a member of a minority party. I'm talking about Republicans. So blame can be put everywhere. And I don't want to make this a partisan issue. My heart sinks when I think of the countless young people who are committing these crimes, boys as young as 14. We know there's a fatherlessness crisis, but I am saying this. The mayor needs to acknowledge that the city has failed, and she has had many chances to prove she can do better. The council has had many chances to prove they can do better.
But is it the mayor's job or the president's job? A president that pardoned people that beat up policemen, law enforcement on videotape. Is he the right one that people can have confidence in when he pardoned hundreds of people that literally in Washington, D.C., stormed the Capitol and beat up law enforcement people and called for the hanging of the sitting vice president?
Rev, I completely feel in line with you and aligned with you when we talk about those January 6, 2021 rioters. Those people should not have been given pardons. President Trump is back in office, so he is the one that, unfortunately, when we look for the federal government to step in, he is the one at the helm. And what I can say is this: I don't like it when the federal government has to step in and over.
Well, here's the thing. If they would have only went after the people who were actually violent, if that's the only people they would have targeted in January 6th, there probably wouldn't have been any pardons. But they didn't. They went after people that didn't do anything, that were just walking, that just went in, like got walked in, like, oh, whatever. They went after people that never even went in, people that were outside. They went after people with voices. They had a whole bunch of other stuff going in. You know, like, yeah. They had, informants and provocateurs and stuff. So, yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Washington, D.C. Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner Andrea Davis. There are pockets of D.C. that are significantly out of control. We have school zones that are drug-infested neighborhoods. Yeah, they arrested thousands of people for what? And
if they're able to do that, then I think there's no problem with that because there are pockets in D.C. that are significantly out of control. We have school zones that are drug-infested neighborhoods.
Mixed reaction from the community, but they all agree on one thing. Something must be done to decrease crime.
If they're able to do that, then I think there's no problem with that because there are pockets in D.C. that are significantly out of control.
Wow, significantly out of control pockets. Yep, they're out of pocket. Finally, some real action to clean up D.C. It's about time. We prioritize safety over political correctness. Trump's got the right idea. Let's make America safe again, one city at a time. She's not sugarcoating it, calling out some D.C. school zones are basically sitting in the middle of drug-infested neighborhoods. When local leaders are this blunt, the situation's gone way past needs improvement. That's right. Yeah, why is D.C. more dangerous than a third world? It's a good question. Yeah, we saw this. This was just someone else. The same thing as Dana Bash says, he pardoned thousands, not hundreds. I saw many videos, didn't see Trump riding in any of them. She's an idiot. And, but I don't want to get Jim kicked out of YouTube. Well, I understand. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what else? A good point, and this is not medical advice at all. Talk to your doctor about medical advice. But they say, some people, I've heard, that vitamin B12, if you have back problems, cartilage problems, or back problems with like discs and other problems in your back, that actually eats up your B12 and that you need to replace the B12, and it can actually cause things to spiral out of control, especially with nerves and stuff like that for nerve pain, that boosting your B12 can help. So something you might want to look into. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dana Bash. Oh, January 6th was the worst day. Yeah, it was the worst thing. Look at this. There was one person, and it was a Trump supporter. Dana left out that detail. Yeah. The complete memory hold, the inauguration day BLM riots. Yeah, inauguration day when they lit all the cars on fire. If two or more people conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy a force of government, the United States shall be fine. Yeah. Dana Ruth Bash. Oh, okay. Oh, she's saying not true. B12 really is for red blood cells. Well, isn't red blood cells what helps repair stuff when you got damaged cartilage and everything like that, increasing your red blood cells? No? I'd really like to talk about that. Without B12, you'll have anemia. Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, I've heard that when you have like back problems and issues with like, like back, disc issues and problems with your back or nerve pain, that it actually causes your body to eat up more B12. That's what I heard. I'm not a doctor, and I talk to weird people a lot of times, and I take advice and some stuff. I just know that that's what I've heard, that if you that can help to increase your level of B12, like getting B12 injections or taking supplemental B12 can help. It's not going to cure you or anything, but it could help alleviate some issues. Maybe. That's all. Never trust anyone as complete disregard for the truth. What is going on here? And then we got the paid protesters are trying to keep Trump from federalizing D.C. What do you think? Who do you think is funding these protests? Let's take a look here. We got these. Look at these. Free D.C. Look at these. They got these nice shirts. Wow, how did they get these shirts made so fast and everything? Huh. That's weird, right?
We coming, and this is our city. Whose city? Whose city? Whose city? Whose city? Free D.C.
Okay, no. Okay. I'm not. It's as if true every vegan would have back pain. I'm not saying that low B12 can cause back pain. What I'm saying that I heard, and I don't know, I'm not that having back problems, having a back pain issues, and having issues with cartilage issues, disc problems, like herniated discs, stuff like that, problems, nerve pain issues, eats up more B12, so it can cause your B12 to dip. So increase your B12 will help a little bit with that pain problem. Not going to make it go away, but that's what someone told me. I don't know. So I've been taking B12. I don't know if it works. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they can organize real fast to protest the Orange Man. We can't organize to patrol and keep their neighborhood safe. Yeah. B12 is for anemia. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, pain depletes your B12. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I was told. So I have chronic pain. I take B12. I take multiple B12 injections every month. And helps a little bit. Seems like it. Maybe. I don't know. I feel better, because of it, I think. In my mind, maybe it's all in my mind. Maybe it's a placebo.
Free D.C. 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 Protect home rule. 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 Protect home rule.
Well, why don't we just give them their home rule? Give it back to Maryland. That would protect everybody's home rule. Yeah. I'll grab the popcorn. I worked in D.C. for years. No human being in his right mind thinks D.C. is safe, is well run. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, see. Americans in the district have a message to Donald Trump: get the hell out of D.C. Oh, yeah, Trump, get out of D.C. Now, these people are retarded. The president's going to get out of D.C.
about what, 6'3", 6'4"? I'm about 6'6", so I can go ahead and talk to him and say, you know what, Donald, sit your little ass down and get the hell out of D.C.
If you have one message for Donald Trump and you were speaking to him right now, what would you say?
It's hard to think of exactly the right words.
Off D.C.
You don't stand a chance.
You do not understand the assignment. Back off.
Why don't you just go ahead and take your ass, go back to Florida.
We know how to govern in D.C. We can get public-private partnerships. We can manage our own budget, and we can secure our own streets.
Their budget comes from the fucking Congress. What are these idiots talking about? Everything they have is because of the federal government. Holy fuck.
You're not going to intimidate me. You're not going to intimidate the people of D.C.
We have an elected mayor. We have an elected council.
Leave the people of D.C. alone. You're doing a bad enough job running the country. We don't need you screwing up our city.
We don't need Donald Trump interfering in our local laws, interfering in our local budget, and standing in the way of D.C. statehood.
Leave us alone.
D.C.'s never going to be a state.
The people of this city and you at the DNC and the entire Democratic Party aren't going to stand for it.
Get us our $1 billion back.
Yeah, all right.
Oh yeah, so yeah, this was a DNC. It's all DNC people. Yeah, in case you missed the election, it's the Democrats are horrible for America. They cater to criminals with light on crime revolving door policies. Yeah, we tried Democrats' way for years. Didn't exactly work. Yeah. Yeah, happening now, anti-Trump protesters in D.C. are turning on each other with a fight breaking out. Yeah, says the states like New York, the Dems are trying to destroy home rule, especially when it comes to green new scams. They all pee in their pants. Yep. If they cared about DC, they would have cleaned it up. They failed. Proud parents of juvenile delinquents running wild. Definitely. What TF says, vitamin B12 has been identified as playing a role in cellular reprogramming and tissue regeneration. This means it can influence how cells behave, potentially help them repair damaged tissues. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Flavonoids are supposed to help too. You're right. Flavonoids supposed to help. I don't know. Let's see. Happening now. Let's see. They're fighting each other. Let's see. Trump must go now.
Not to fight each other. That's what they want us to do. The answer is to take to the streets. They are installing a fascist America and a fascist takeover of D.C. It is time to unite, not to fight each other the way they want us to do. And it is time to get people into the streets. To get people into the streets. Leave here! Leave here! Leave here! Leave here! Leave
Wow, look at all. Why did they, I got to tell you, my personal opinion. Yeah, what's up, Woods? How's it going? The vast majority of these people are members of the teachers union. That's who they are. Look at them. They're school teachers. That's who they are. They're out here because, school's on break, summer break for school. And the teachers union, they pay for the stuff. This is who went to all those rallies for Kamala Harris. They busted teachers union people. That's who went to them. It was the same people going over and over again. That's what it is. That's who you see. That's who you see there. Wow. So. They're already eating their own. Pro-crime protesters assaulting each other. Amazing. HOA and retirement home. Let's go. My money's on the HOA Karen who pushes the megaphone. Support all boomer libtards that hate. Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. Okay. Well, here's another one. It says, as you bring in more policemans, it's going to escalate. We won't go to where alligators live. Yeah, definitely. The teachers union is uniquely destructive. We need to outlaw the teachers union. Wow. Wow, bow. Let's see. Very interesting. NAACP, they got these nice shirts. Look at them.
Great. The president has been trying to provoke violence here, right here, in the black communities and in the brown communities, having ICE kidnap our neighbors, having the black community be harassed and profiled and want a response.
we say, hell no, we won't go.
Hell no, we won't go. We won't go. Hell no, we won't go.
When we say we won't go, that means we're not going to those mass incarceration, into their prisons and enslavement. We won't go into their ICE, what do you call his beautiful centers that he got. We won't go to where alligators live. Hell no, we won't go.
Good, don't come to Florida. We don't want you.
We won't go. Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go.
Today we gather to speak plainly about policy path that sounds strong, but in truth, it weakens the very safety we seek. We believe there is a better way to protect us all. One that respects rights to build trust and keep our communities truly safe, and that is fascism free. Fear is not a roadmap to safety. It is a burial. It fails hardest on the black communities that already we bear a disproportionate share of surveillance, stops, and forces. I want to be clear, we've been here before. This is a long history. Well before today, the black communities bear the brunt of aggressive policing. Data and reports from many credible organizations show patterns. Black people are more likely to be stopped, searched, questioned, arrested, and harmed in encounters with the law. When we add the presence of federal agents or the National Guard to daily life in these neighborhoods, the burden can multiply. Not by making harm more rare, but making it more visible and more likely to escalate. So be clear, this has been going on. But as you bring more policemen, it's going to escalate. Black Washingtonians have long recognized that community violence cannot be solved through state violence, and have asked for meaningful investments and solutions that are proven to work. Racist over-policing goes beyond D.C., as the roots of American policing in many regions, like enslaved patrols. Police have been enslaving and murdering black people with freedom for punishment for centuries. I stand in front of you today with a signal to the residents of D.C. and the country that we will not be idle as oppressive structures try to harm our communities and take power. The fight for black liberation and the liberation of all people will not stop no matter our oppression, intimidation, manipulation tactics. We have the right to demand respect, to protect ourselves and protect each other. And as the executive director of Hers Wildest Dreams, I want to name, white people's civil rights have never been in danger because they are white. The white civil rights represents the desire from the Jim Crow. Full stop. At Hers Wildest Dreams, and as we support Free D.C., we're fighting against mass incarceration, policing, ICE, violence towards immigrants and Muslims, violence in Palestine, worker exploitation, and more. We're fighting for freedom and safety for all people.
Wow, so they're the Black Liberation Front. Okay, cool. Life is hard. It's harder if you're stupid. Yeah, definitely. Bring in more policemen, it's going to escalate. Your terms are acceptable. Why doesn't she want crime to stop, especially considering that black people are disproportionately affected by violent crime? There's no demographic that would benefit more. It says massively low energy right now in Washington, D.C. for the left's protest against President Trump's new policies to make the American capital safe again. And she forgot climate change. Yeah, she did. She forgot climate change. Massively low energy right now in D.C. for the left's protest. Turns out that there's more media than actual protesters. Interesting how nobody showed up, especially considering how furious elected Democrats are over the new safety orders. It seems the left's anti-Trump movement has finally run out of steam, or maybe just out of cash. You might have been in the wrong spot. I don't know. Oh, refusefascism.org. Yeah, this is a different organization. This is this Revcom USA and the DSA. If you see it says refusefascism.org, that's the Revolutionary Communists in the United States and the Democratic Socialists of America. This is a different group. Okay, I don't know. They're playing music, dude.
Protesters.
So.
DC. Them people.
Okay, well, I can't. They'll get struck for the music. Let's see. Yeah, there's just so many people there. Yeah. Listening to her, I feel like Jim owes me. Yeah. I can understand why nobody wanted to donate tonight, because that was rough. We are all. That's like basically we lived through that meme from Billy Madison where the guy is like, "We are all stupider for having listened to you. You know, we're going to remove 10 points, and may God have mercy on your soul." After President Trump announced a sweeping crackdown on crime in the nation's capital, angry residents took to the street to protest the new order. Let's see. Oh, we got more idiots, which is Free DC.
Free DC! Free DC!
This is about what Trump is trying to do to DC in order to take over DC and silence us. This is the story of a ruler who...
Doesn't she realize that the federal government is in control of DC? Hey, look at that. $4.99 from KJAB. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That brings the total tonight to, let's see, the total tonight to $10, $20, $30 tonight. $30 came in tonight. Thank you very much. The best thing to do is turn it over to Maryland, then they get to be part of the state, which granted. Yeah, that's what should happen. It really should happen. There is a precedent for that. It's what happened with Arlington and all that. That was all returned to Virginia. So, and that was, I think, 1840. So there's really no reason why this part should go. Like the only thing they really need to keep as the federal district should be, the White House, this square. Just make it this little square. And yeah. So that's 3 out of 10. Yes, we're 3 out of 10. And we're already past the 3-hour point. So I'm probably going to end up going 4 hours anyway because, I aim to please. Oh, did we? Wait, we didn't finish listening to that.
Trying to oppress a people and who's causing real harm to real communities in the process. I believe that we will win.
No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. You ain't gonna win shit. You ain't gonna win shit. Shit. Wait. Oh, okay, I see what happened there. This is this one. No, this one. That's this one. Okay, and this one is. 1 second. President Trump's decisive action to restore order in D.C. Well, thank you. I try. D.C. was always meant to be an office. People have no right to live in it. Yeah, there was never supposed to be anybody living in it. It is sad. It does make me sad that people are that stupid. It does. Yeah, 3 hours already. I missed it because I was watching that new terrible War of the Worlds. I haven't seen it, but we'll see. Yeah, DC is exactly what taxpayers demand: accountability over chaos. While mail browsers claim crimes is at a 30-year low, federal takeover of DC Police and National Guard deployment exposes reality. Local leadership failed to secure the streets, allowing lawlessness to fester. Protesters decrying this move are defending a status quo where bureaucrats prioritize politics over safety. The real issue is DC's $1.1 billion budget hole proves mismanagement runs deep. When cities decay, federal intervention is an overreach. It's necessary triage. Let's see if this crackdown forces DC to finally prioritize citizens over performative resistance. The facts behind DC's leadership failures here. Hey, and there's Spuds. There we go. Now we got another 5 with Spuds. Says, people who failed 7th grade social studies. I hope this tip helps soothe the pain coming from people too dumb to know better. It does. It does. I will use that. I'll take that tip and I will rub it all over myself to make the pain go away. Nadine in that group, she was one of the BLM protesters at their White House. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same protesters, and they're all getting money from NGOs and stuff. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Where'd it go? I don't know what happened. Oh wait, no, I'm on the wrong one. That's fine. Mm-hmm. There we go. There it is. These protesters aren't taxpayers demanding better services. They're defending the exact bureaucratic failures that creates DC's mess in the first place. Mm-hmm. Real taxpayers want results, not rallies protecting incompetent officials who burn through $1.1 billion while failing basic public safety duties. Protesters hitting the streets are the same voices that stayed silent while DC's leadership mismanaged funds. They ignored accountability. They treated governance like political theater. They're not upset about waste. They're upset that someone finally called it out and took action. Genuine taxpayers aren't protesting Trump's intervention. They're celebrating it. They've watched their money disappear in a bureaucratic black hole while getting lectures about statistics that don't match what they see on the streets. They know the difference between political spin and actual safety. The demonstrations expose exactly why federal oversight became necessary. When local officials spend more energy organizing resistance than fixing problems, they prove they never deserved the responsibility in the first place. The protesters are defending a system that failed them. They're not fighting for one that works. Federal control forces transparency that local bureaucrats have avoided for years. Real accountability terrifies them. It's because it exposes how they wasted taxpayer dollars and broke the taxpayers' trust, all while delivering nothing but excuses and press conferences. Protests prove the point. When politicians prioritize optics over outcomes, taxpayers suffer and bureaucrats win. Those are different type of taxpayers. I wonder you would know if you've never paid taxes. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Oh, here we go. $2 from Joe. This is all I can do. Good show, minus Sharpton. I appreciate it, and every little bit helps. So see, I wonder how many of the people actually that live in DC actually pay any federal income tax. I would say that probably a vast majority of that 700,000 probably pays zero federal income tax because they're probably all on the dole, as they say. Here we go. Just in, Democrats launch an angry demonstration to oppose the reduction of crime by President Trump. And the speakers are unhinged, but one hardly able to speak correctly. Oh, this is the one we listened to. She's hardly able to speak correctly. So someone else thought the same thing.
Valiance stops and forces.
Yeah, we already saw that. We're not going to listen to it again. I can't even understand this woman. This is a safe city, but overhearing and witnessing gang threats and then watching the camera footage of the thuggery is disturbing, said one resident, speaking on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety. A crowd of teens, he said, were roaming the streets and appeared to be checking for unlocked cars for things to steal. So yeah, everything is safe according to this. It's a safe city. But overhearing and witnessing gang threats and watching the camera footage of thuggery is disturbing, said one resident, speaking on the condition of anonymity over concerns of personal safety. So this person is afraid to talk or they'll get hurt. But the safe city. Wow. Safe city. Wow. It's fascinating listening to people who oppose Trump cleaning up crime in D.C. You talk about the crime? The crime is when you let the people out who done messed up January 6th. Maybe Trump needs to implement more taxpayer-funded programs. Well, let's hear this now. This is going to be good, right? Gives me that.
They have in mind.
You talking about the crime. The crime is when you let the people out that done messed up January the 6th.
He's acting out of spite. I don't know what for. I feel like he has something to prove.
I think it's important that we uplift those children and focus on why this is happening. Maybe we need to implement more programs. Maybe Trump needs to implement more programs and focus on that in the
they have in mind.
Yeah, more programs. Gives me more money. Tell me where January 6th hurt your benefits on the dole. Yeah. Oh, here we go. It says, breaking, National Guard troops from across the U.S. just poured into D.C. Oops, my bad. That was under Biden. This was all under Biden. You know, all under Biden. Way after January 6th, this all happened. Yeah. You know? And this was like this for months. For months. For months. There are 26 cities more dangerous than Washington, D.C. for violent crime. Yeah, I'm sure there is. But we're talking about the U.S. Capitol. What does it say about him if the president city can't even handle crime there? Yeah. Yeah. And this person says, like, opinion, I'm glad Trump is focused on non-existent D.C. crime wave. It's non-existent. Not his campaign promises. Yeah. Look at Capitol murders in 2024. Oh, non-existent. 27.5 murders per 100,000. Suspended if accused of changing stats. Yeah. We got non-existent crime wave. You've outdone yourselves as a fake news outlet. Tell that to the parents of the UMass intern who was murdered, or the parents of the Israelis murdered. Take a drive around. Need a map where the heroin shooting galleries are. Here's the story. I thought I would pull it up just because, let's hear what this tard has to say. I'm glad Trump is focused on the non-existent crime wave. His name is Rex Hupke. Or Hupk. As a Midwestern voter, I'm pleased to see my president focused on the issues. Make sure the White House is covered in fancy gold. Things like food prices, war, healthcare, manufacturing can wait. Remember under Biden when they all said the food prices were fine, that it's a transitory and inflation, it's not a big deal to worry about? He swears he'll stop the violent crime that doesn't exist in D.C. He held a news conference announcing his plan to deploy. Thank goodness. Well, Washington, D.C. Police Department shows violent crime has fallen to its lowest point since before the pandemic. That's just 4 years ago. So they're champions. They're exactly right. They can't look more than 4 years ago. These people are bad, I swear. Homeless encampments, liberal graffiti. I don't think it's possible for the government taking over the city in any way in an attempt to draw attention away from the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Yeah, but the problem is that the Obama judges are refusing to allow the Epstein stuff to be released. So there's that. Yeah, this guy says, I'm voting for Trump because I wanted more gold in the White House. All right. This guy is like out there. I mean, I can't believe this is the USA Today. So to all the haters who keep claiming Trump hasn't come through on any of his promises, how about you shut up? He's slapping gold in the White House. How about he's deporting all the illegals, which is one of his promises? Yeah, and he stopped the border invasion. Yeah. Yeah. Grocery prices are still high, but Trump has to deal with D.C. first. Inflation is below 2% right now. What's he supposed to do? I don't get these people. I really don't. Here we go. World star hip hop. This is on to the next story. This is a good one. I hope you guys are ready for this. A Batavia, Illinois company called Savor is making butter from carbon. No animals, plants, or oils involved. It's a sustainable product backed by Bill Gates. You'll eat the bugs and like it. Looks, smells, and tastes like traditional butter, but avoids the farmland, fertilizers, and emissions of conventional production. Company backed by Bill Gates makes butter out of carbon. Dangerous. Look at this. While the concept is innovative and environmentally promising, several potential dangers or concerns could arise, categorized as follows. Health risks from synthetic ingredients. Unknown long-term effects. The synthetic fat produced through this thermochemical process is not naturally occurring food substance. Traditional butter derived from milk has been consumed for millennia. Its nutritional profile, e.g. saturated fats, vitamin A, D, E, and K, is well studied. The new butter safety for human consumption over extended periods is unproven. Regulatory approval is pending, as noted in the Smithsonian Magazine article. And until rigorous clinical trials are completed, there could be risks of unforeseen health issues such as metabolic disorders, allergic reactions to the synthetic emulsifiers or additives. The use of beta-carotene and rosemary oil, while natural sounding, involves industrial processing. If not properly regulated, contaminants or byproducts from a thermochemical process could pose toxicity risks. Mentioning slop water like a humorous or exaggerated reference to industrial byproducts highlights public skepticism about the purity of the input materials. A nutritional deficiency. If this butter replaces traditional dairy butter widely, it might lack essential nutrients found in animal-derived products. Yeah, it might lack. The thermochemical process involves handling gases under high pressure and temperature, which could lead to industrial accidents. It's highly flammable, poses a risk to workers. The process relies on capturing CO2 from the air, which depends on efficiency of carbon capture technology. Producing hydrogen, likely via electrolysis, requires significant energy. If this energy comes from fossil fuels rather than renewable sources, carbon footprint can be higher than advertised. Yeah. Bill Gates' involvement, there's a risk of centralized control over the food supply chains. Yeah, of course there is. I don't want shit back by Bill Gates. Nah, man, I'm good. Why is Bill Gates not in jail? Putting that face should be an automatic F no from everybody. Arrest him. Sorry, but who asked for slop butter? Definitely. Rule of thumb, avoid anything. Bill Gates' involvement. Biden was known for having one meeting a week just before launch. Trump is working 18 hours a day. That's true. Bill Gates named Microsoft after his... Jim, don't you know if anything was free, there wouldn't be any inflation? Yeah. If everything was free. Butter is fine the way it is. Yeah, there's no such thing as fossil fuels. Petroleum-based products come from ancient plants. Yes. And they're actually renewable because as the plants decay, it just keeps creating. I mean, it takes a long time to renew, but they are renewable. Petroleum is renewable. Do you want to eat fake butter? The company Savor sells butter made from carbon. While some people are excited, others are disgusted. Bill Gates' fake butter made from human waste approved by FDA without data safety and a move straight out of dystopian nightmare. So it's Soylent Green. They just greenlit lab-grown fake butter cooked up by Bill Gates funding startup in California. No labels, no warnings, already slipping into the food supply via restaurants and bakeries across America. The kicker? It was approved using only the Gates Foundation's own safety claims. No independent tests, no animal trials, no public review. And when you find out what's actually made from, let's just say it isn't the first time Gates has been caught quietly trying to feed it to the masses. It's made from human waste, approved by the FDA without safety data. Wow. You would be surprised if the oil turns out to be some kind of sewage hoax. That could be. Up by Bill Gates funded startup. In June, the American Butter Association asked the Food and Drug Administration to take action against fake butter products sold near real butter, according to the June 25th letter. The Office of Nutrition and Food Labeling. This product, as labeled, implies it's butter made without cow's milk, which is unlawful. According to Congress's definition of butter in 1906, as described as subsequently in this letter, because the Country Crock Products principal display panel prominently bears the term butter, including image of a traditional red barn associated with dairy farms, and employs an image of butter. There's no mistaking about this marketer's intent to identify itself as butter, which is preferred by consumers, rather than what it really is, a plant-based spread similar to margarine. The product offers the consumers two versions of what it is. First, calling itself dairy-free, unsalted, salted butter. but it also offers in small writing on the package front that is 79% plant-based oil spread. Butter, as written, is law. It can never be dairy-free. It can only be made from cow's milk. Using the label of dairy-free raises many concerns. Not only does it fools consumers into believing a dairy-free version of butter could exist, but it also creates the idea that this product meets the standards that have been set for butter, which in fact doesn't even meet the standard for margarine, itself an imitation of butter. Wow. Regardless of the marketer's intended nomenclature for the product, it contains no butter, even as the labeling and accompanying vignette signifies that it does. Consequently, the product's labeling is not only in direct conflict with FDA regulations and policies covering the labeling of foods, it also blatantly disregards the congressionally established standard of identity for butter. In reality, this product is nothing more than vegetable spread, made from a commonplace edible plant-based oil and other ingredients that is attempting to leverage the premium perception of real dairy butter maintained by most consumers. The manufacturer is clearly trying. I want to have a list of names of restaurants that plan to use Bill Gates' new carbon butter. It will not be frequently in those places. The man is trying to depopulate the earth. When will people realize he is a crazy psychopath? American chef Andrew Gruel posted on it. Disgusting. They are combining hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen to create fat molecules. They manipulated them to taste like butter. Why do this when we already have butter? This is from the TFPP Wire. It says, Bill Gates' backed company is now making cow-free butter made from carbon. I think they might actually have a problem because technically they can't call it butter. They're going to get sued. Yeah, real butter is actually very good for you as long as it's made hormone-free. You ever think about it? Why people seem to have been a lot more healthy when they just ate real butter. They used real cream and everything. They used lard to cook with, and they used tallow. And I don't know. It says it's producing butter without cows' farms. They use carbon dioxide from the air and hydrogen from water to create butter-like fats. Contains no fat, water, lectin, and natural flavors with no palm oil. Earlier versions are being tested in chocolate sold through restaurants and bakeries. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. The lard and tallow are amazing. Yes, they are. An industrial park outside of Chicago using lab technology to create butter that mimics the taste, texture, and appearance. They explain that fats is simply chains of carbon and hydrogen. The system involves heating and oxidizing captured carbon, producing fat molecules similar to those found in meat, cheese, and oils. Oh man, we're gonna need to get better testing kits, yeah, so we can double check to make sure that butter is the real butter. Currently, they're selling limited edition chocolates made with its butter to select partners. Widespread consumer availability is projected for around 2027. If I found out that I got served this, I think I would have grounds to sue. There's something unsettling about the idea of swapping out real butter for lab-created product made from captured gases. The pitch may sound noble, save the planet, reduce emissions, but when it comes to food, the issue is trust. Real butter is part of the human diet for centuries. Its ingredients are simple, familiar, and time-tested. Lab butter, on the other hand, relies on a complex industrial process that hasn't been around long enough for anyone to know its long-term effect on health. Consumers deserve to know exactly what's in their food, how it's made, and what it does to the body over decades of consumption. I would think if Bobby Kennedy found out about this would get shut down. The short ingredient list may look reassuring, but the source materials and chemical transformations involved are far from farm fresh. People want butter. Why not just eat butter? It's natural, delicious, and proven safe through generations of use. Trading that for an engineered fat from a factory, with even one with zero emissions, means becoming part of a fast food experiment. Bill Gates may even believe it's the future, but it's wise to let others be test subjects. Just because something can be made doesn't mean it should be eaten. Progress in food tech should be balanced with caution, not rushed into kitchens based on environmental buzzwords. Sustainability is important, but also safeguarding health, maintaining integrity of what we eat. Once the food source shifts entirely to a lab, it's hard to go back, even harder to know if we should have made the leap in the first place. The carbon and hydrocarbon butter. It's not butter. Stop calling it butter. Yet even success depends on whether consumers will embrace it. For now, the safer choice for those who love butter may be to stick with the real thing. That's right. Yeah. It says they're probably flavoring all sorts of food with that oil. I hope not. On to the next story. Israel says Al Jazeera journalist killed in an airstrike was the head of a Hamas terror cell. Okay. And this guy says there's zero proof of this. It's simply what Israel does. Is it really? You got proof? Here's how your chief correspondent broke the news. How come that particular journalist who blocks everyone who points out the shoddy one-sided reporting always seems to never tell the whole story? You know the word for that, right? Yeah. Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Bouaira was just killed in an airstrike outside of Sharif Hospital, Trey Yanks. Even the BBC. BBC understands Sharif worked for a Hamas media team in Gaza before the current conflict. Oh, he's been a familiar face on Al Jazeera for much of the war. Worked for Hamas in the Gaza before the conflict. So he don't work for Hamas. And just a coincidence, right, that here he is. This is the Hamas guy kissing him. You know, yeah, the leader of Hamas. Here he is posting stuff, you know. And this is the Arabic Telegram channel. He was known as one of the turn of people of Gaza who were critical of Hamas terrorists to be executed. Yeah, just a journalist. Yeah, just a journalist. Israel says Al Jazeera journalist, Al Jazeera journalist killed in the airstrike was the head of Hamas terrorist cell. An Al Jazeera journalist who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in the Gaza Strip was the leader of Hamas terrorist cell, the Israeli Defense Forces announced. Oh, okay. Well, good night. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I don't think we're going to go past 4 hours tonight. I think 4 hours is going to be a cutoff. So, but I appreciate everybody. You know, the only way I would go past 4 hours if all of a sudden I got like a bunch of super chats or Rumble rants or Cash Apps or PayPals, Venmos. That was a joke. Anas al-Sharif and his 4 colleagues, identified by Al Jazeera as correspondent Mohammed Khaleh and camera operators Ibrahim Zahir, Mohammed Nafol, and Moimen Alwiya, died Sunday in the what Qatari-based network called a targeted Israeli attack. Yeah, don't forget to like the button and hit the subscribe. The IDF struck the terrorist Anas al-Sharif, who posed as a journalist for the Al Jazeera network, said the Israeli military said. Al-Sharif served as the head of a terrorist cell in the Hamas terrorist network organization and was responsible for advancing rocket attacks against Israeli civilians. They also said it previously disclosed intelligence information and many documents found in Gaza Strip confirming al-Sharif's military affiliation with Hamas, and from which the Al Jazeera network has attempted to disassociate itself. Intelligence and documents from Gaza, including rosters, terrorist training lists, and salaries, prove he was a Hamas operative integrated into Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera and al-Sharif previously rejected claims of his affiliation with Hamas. Al Jazeera Media Network condemns in strongest terms the targeted assassination of his correspondents by the Israeli occupation forces. Okay, Al Jazeera. Anas and his colleagues were among the last remaining voices from within Gaza, providing the world with unfiltered and on-the-ground coverage of the devastating realities endured by its people. While international media was barred from entering, Al Jazeera journalists remained in the besieged Gaza, experiencing hunger and suffering. What they documented through their lenses. UN Human Rights Office also wrote an exit condemned the killings and called for immediate and safe, unhindered access to Gaza for all journalists. I'm getting tired all of a sudden. IDF said the documents have found the Gaza Strip include personnel rosters, salary documents for terrorists. Okay, so there's that. That's what they say. Here's Sky News saying, what's the evidence which Israel says links Anas al-Sharif to Hamas? So is this actually going to play?
Coming up on the Daily, 5 journalists from Al Jazeera are killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Israel claims he had served as the head of a Hamas terrorist cell, but have produced little evidence to support that.
أنا أتواجد هنا في أقصى شمال قطاع غزة حيث يتوافد عشرات
Oh, that sounds kind of terroristy to me. I don't know. I don't speak fluent Farsi or hibbity jibbity, but that sounded very hala walla walla to me. Walla walla whiz bang. On this episode, Niall Peterson of the Sky News international correspondent took a look at his career and Israel's claims. Well, I guess I have to listen to the whole thing. Let's see how fast forward it is.
I have seen any founded proof.
I was watching it in real time outside the courtyard of the Al. Read out their names. Anas
of the number and was the target of the IDF strike. What do we know of him?
So he was 28 years old. He was born in the Jabalia refugee across the Arab 54 last night. Set of documents which about him and about 6 other journalists for Al Jazeera that they claim to be working for Hamas or Islamic Jihad. It included personnel tables, terrorist training courses. It said that he was the head of a rocket battalion, that he joined Hamas in 2013, who are seeing every day what is happening on the news organizations around the world are relying on they don't get any counseling filming dead.
I saw this story. It said, breaking news, Attorney General Ken Paxton has been given legal authority to investigate allegations of improper funds sent to Jasmine Crockett from Act Blue, separate from the investigation underway by the FTC. Yeah, good old Slavey Crockett. Cool. More nothing. Yo, finally some action against this Act Blue mess. Ken Paxton's got the guts to take on Crooked Crockett. $5 million in properties on a $174,000 salary. Smells like Trump was right about the swamp. Let's drain it and lock her up. Act Blue, big money laundering thing. The biggest money laundering scheme in the history of the United States. Maybe we need to look at why she has 3 properties worth over $5 million on a salary of $174,000 a year. Hasn't been in office 2 years yet. I'm sure it's not because of kickbacks or anything illegal. Someone might want to double check my math. Remember when the very unpopular Kamala got record Act Blue donations, and we said it was due to money laundering? The media said we were conspiracy theorists. Turns out we were right once again. Yeah, Act Blue bombshell Dem money platform tells Congress it didn't block foreign gift cards until fall. Says breaking. Attorney General Ken Paxton has the legal authority to investigate allegations of improper funds sent to Crockett from Act Blue, separate from the investigation underway by the FEC. Raise your hand if you want him to find out if any of that money went into her bank account. Anything dumber than a box of Crockett's. Wow. We need to investigate Crockett. She took her grandmother's money for 3 years, or was it 12? Social Security. She was dead. She's a criminal. Act Blue is a cesspool of impropriety. Last time misappropriation of funds was referred to them, they punted to the FBI. The recommended referral was made to them well over a year ago, and they've done nothing but punt as well. She's mad. Jasmine Crockett. She's mad. She's mad. She's mad. Ooh, she's mad. She's mad. That's funny. That's funny. That's some funny shit there. Yeah, let's see this. Some of her staff have been coming out talking shit. So it says Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett funds lavish lifestyle off taxpayer dollars. Staff calls her an influencer and a diva. It's not just the right who can't stand the congresswoman, but her own staff. Rep Jasmine Slavey Crockett has been heavily criticized by the right for changing her accent and persona based on who she's speaking to. And now, not even her congressional aides can take it anymore. She is never in the office and is very disengaged. She does her bitch. I don't know what that. I don't know what that's supposed to be. That goes viral and then freaks out over most random thing. One aide told the New York Post. It's widely known that she's not nice to staff. Is not a really dedicated member focused on constituents. Third source who worked with Crockett accused her of being focused almost exclusively on being an influencer, not a member of Congress. Described her as all diva, no wow. Wow. Wow.
Grip, stability, precision. That's the essence of driving. Lawfin.
I'm 15. I called 988 and spoke to Mateo.
Wow. Sarah Gomez, unfiltered. Sarah Gonzalez.
Friday. Welcome to Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered. We are here all show, all hour long with our good friend, first buddy, Matt Marston, Blaze TV contributor, and of course, actor and producer extraordinaire. Make sure that you are following him at Matthew D. Marston. What is the D for again?
David, you know, when you say following me, I always imagine it's like, make sure you.
From big game celebrations to celebrating your big day.
All right. Well, we're not going to watch that. On to the next story. Historic shift in Syria. President Trump just did what three presidents promised but never delivered. He ended the most U.S. sanctions on Syria. Now America's sitting down with Syria to plan reconstruction, and the geopolitics and geoeconomics are huge. Yeah, I think she's married, if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow, U.S., Jordanian, and Syrian officials will meet in Amman to discuss rebuilding Syria, a war-torn nation devastated by civil war since 2011. The goals: security, stability, sovereignty, and prosperity. As Trump puts it, commerce, not chaos. Syria's new leaders, installed after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad, has already struck $14 billion in deals with global companies. $4 billion to new Damascus airport, $2 billion to public transport, $60 million new shopping mall, and that's just a start. But Syria needs everything. Saudis are all in. At the Syria-Saudi Investment Forum, they pledged $6.4 billion across energy, infrastructure, healthcare, and agriculture. $2.93 billion in infrastructure and real estate, $1.07 billion in telecom and AI, and 3 new cement plants. The Gulf is betting big on Syria. But it's more than just that. Syria's new leader was installed by Turkey, which wants to make the country a de facto colony. Okay. Oh, Pat Hacker, you're going to bed too? Good night. And then Joe's going to bed. All right. But bringing the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and even Israel gives Syria breathing space to maintain their independence. It also pushes them towards peace. Trump's lifting most sanctions while keeping them on Assad personally was the turning point. It followed similarly by the EU in May and the UK in April. Experts praise the opening, calling it a pathway to recovery and a chance to restore human rights. Why it matters. Reconstruction isn't just humanitarian, it's geopolitical. A rebuilt Syria ends its dependence on Iran, reduces refugee pressure on Europe, denies terrorist failed state havens, brings Arab states closer to the U.S., and enables peace with Israel. Oh, thanks for still being here, Spuds. Yes, I saw that. This is why Trump's move is historic. While presidents rattled sabers or wrote checks to defense contractors, he's forging peace through trade, investment, and diplomacy. If it works, Syria could become the Middle East's next economic breakout story. Could. Syria was the prime mover of Middle East conflict for decades. Finally, it consumed itself in its long civil war. It was the first Russian proxy, then Iranian. Now it can become the center of peace and prosperity, working with its neighbors. Yeah. Yeah. This article I thought was funny. Not funny, but interesting. It says, Brazil's January 8 file could expose Supreme Court and Justice Alexandre de Moraes' tyrannical rule. The release of the January 8 files by investigative reporters David Agape and Eli Vieira is not merely a revelation of misconduct, it's a window into a methodical abuse of judicial authority by Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, most powerful unelected man in Brazil. The documents show that in the wake of January 8, 2023 protests in Brasilia, Moraes orchestrated a clandestine operation that bypassed due process and redefined political speech as a criminal act. The official narrative has long been that these protests were a Brazilian mirror of the U.S. January 6 Capitol riot, falsely claiming it was a premeditated attempt to overthrow a duly elected government. But these files reveal something more complex and far, far darker. They show that the real coup was judicial, not popular. On January 8th, hundreds of Jair and Bolsonaro supporters entered the government buildings, but many were elderly, many were infirmed, and most committed no acts of violence. Nonetheless, they were all denounced as coup plotters and terrorists by Justice Moraes. Their rhetoric served its purpose. It created the pretext for a sweeping crackdown. Now we have the proof that his crackdown relied not on evidence of violent acts, but on political affiliations and social media activity they accused. January files show Moraes oversaw a secret intelligence police force that operated outside any lawful mandate. The group coordinated through a private WhatsApp chat, created illegal intelligence reports used to justify preventative imprisonment. Detainees were held in jail while their social media accounts were combed for evidence of ideological nonconformity. Lawyers were denied access to these reports. The court relied on illegally obtained data from TSE's biometric database to identify individuals. The result was a parallel justice system where guilt was predetermined and political dissent was a principal crime. The operation was meticulous in its procedural violations. First, detaining lists from the federal police were cross-referenced against biometric data without warrants to identify social media accounts. Then posts were reviewed for signs of political opposition to the government or Supreme Court. Sharing pro-Bolsonaro content, criticizing Lula wearing Brazil's green and yellow, or reposting articles labeled as disinformation were enough to mark someone as positive, meaning they would remain in jail. No one marked positive was released. The file contains particular revealing WhatsApp messages from Arrest Chief of Staff Cristina Buchada, dated February 13, 2023. Prosecutor General's office asked for their release, but the justice doesn't want to let them go before we check their social media. A single sentence captures the inversion of justice at work. The decision to deprive citizens of their liberty was contingent on proof of criminal acts, but not a proof of criminal acts, but on a review of online opinions. Selective cruelty of the operation is underscored by its staging. On March 8th, International Women's Day, Moraes released 149 women from detention, earning media praise for his compassion. Yet leaked chats show that the release had been timed for political optics, that these women had been kept in jail 2 extra months precisely so their liberation could serve as a symbolic gesture. Errors, too, were common. A 74-year-old woman, Vedette de Silva Gadia, was mistakenly labeled positive. Though the mistake was corrected within minutes, she remained in jail and was released only after suffering severe intestinal bleeding. She would later be sentenced to nearly 12 years in prison. Her case exemplifies the casual brutality of a system that has abandoned any pretense of individualized justice. The January 8 files also revealed the depth of coordination between Moraes and officials like Eduardo Tagliaferro, head of the TSE's anti-disinformation unit. That unit had no legal mandate to conduct criminal investigations, yet it served as the investigative arm of the shadow judiciary. The chat logs show Tagliaferro questioned whether his team work was legal, not only be told by Kushada to continue at speed. The guiding principle was efficiency, not legality. As Kushada put it, we can't afford to sit around philosophizing. The practical outcome of this arrangement was that the judge, his aides, and a handful of digital operatives became the arbiters of who could be jailed for months without trial. That's a sticky wicket, that one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a sticky wicket. He had, in fact, combined office of investigator, police, prosecutor, and judge into a single role of his own. And not the rule of law, it was the law of rule. Morris sees no problem with the approach consistent with his broader judicial philosophy. That's weird. Judicial philosophy. One that treats dissent as inherently anti-democratic. Under his interpretation, to question him is to attack democracy itself. The same logic that justified banning Bolsonaro from political office for 8 years, censoring journalists and threatening Elon Musk, and imposing mass arrests and asset freezes on political opponents. These revelations are not isolated scandals, they're part of a pattern. Morris' rise to power began with the political appointment following the suspicious death of Justice Teodoro Zafasky, who had been presiding over Operation Car Wash. Since then, Morris has consolidated extraordinary authority within the Supreme Court, assuming powers that were granted to any associate judge before him. His reach now extends beyond Brazil's borders and is seen as extraterritorial censorship orders against U.S. companies like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, Rumble, and Truth Social. Yeah. He's been sanctioned now. International reach has now provoked a major legal backlash. In civil cases in like Rumble and Trump Media, plaintiffs are allowed to proceed. He's currently in default for failing to respond. In fact, Trump's versus Mercedes, a legal show that could establish a precedent against foreign censorship orders. His exposure, U.S. court strips the immunity he now has in Brazil. Yeah, this guy. Mm-hmm. 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 Hold on 1 second. Redirect. Okay, do that. Okay, save. Yeah, so the pressure on him is intensified. They put sanctions on him using the Global Magnitsky Act for human rights abuses. Mm-hmm. And any person or companies doing business with him, these sanctions typically reserved for the world's most egregious human rights violators, signal that Washington now regards him as an authoritarian actor on par with sanctioned officials from regimes like Venezuela and Russia. Combined with the January 8 files, these developments paint a picture of a judge whose unchecked power is now colliding with the hard limits of international law. Revelations could be well within his last nail in the political coffin. January 8 files connect dots between Mraz and domestic repression, defining feature used to judicial authority. Brazil that has meant reframing the protest as a coup attempt and criminalizing political speech. Legal scholars in Brazil describe his actions as nefarious and unconstitutional. Former Supreme Court Justice Marco Aurelio Melo has opened and questioned the disproportionate sentences handed down for January 8th, noting that they are harsher than those for murderers or armed robbers. Sounds like January 6th, huh? He looks like Lex Luthor. Yeah, he looks really crazy. This guy. Yeah. That bee's nuts. President Lula insists that the democratic state of law is sacred to Brazilians who lived through the past dictatorships. Speaking at Accra, Lula made the stance unequivocally clear, urging parliamentarians to not support impeaching proceedings against Morris as a framing such efforts as attacks on Brazil's sovereign institutions. Yet, despite Lula's support, there is growing public and political momentum for his impeachment and removal. The files strip away the remaining illusions, and they show a granular detail how he's easy. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody who donated tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here. It's been 3 hours and 57 minutes, so I'm going to call it a night, and I will see you guys again on Tuesday night, and we will try again for the goal to go for an extended show. You guys got a kind of a free extended show tonight, so I hope you like it. I want to thank you all for coming. Please don't forget to hit like. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please leave a comment. It helps in the algorithm. And if you feel like donating to either Cash App or PayPal, those are linked in the description and everything. So thank you, and come on back for Jim to tell you.